From the TFNB Your Bank for Life studio, this is 365 Sports. Presented by IdealMRI.com. Premium quality MRIs, convenient, affordable. That's ideal. And by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance. We are Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, your insurance provider built by Texans for Texans. And we've been protecting families in our great state since 1952. TFNB, your bank for life, serving Central Texans since 1889. Now it's time for 365 Sports.
And here we go on this Tuesday afternoon, and basketball underway at the Big 12 tournament in Kansas City. One team is done, one team fighting for their life, as is their head coach. Good afternoon, I'm David Smoak with Paul Catalina and also with Craig Smoak. We will hear from Evan Miyakawa today on the analytics as we go through conference tournament week into the tournament. Also, Jamie Pollard, Iowa State Director of Athletics. Craig's off the radar, John McClain, and so much more at the end. Baylor loses to Arizona State 83-79. Bobby Hurley, reports are from Jeff Goodman that he's gone, although he has not yet talked with anybody inside the athletic department or with the university. He told his team that also today. But they do beat Baylor 83-79, and Baylor will maybe NIT whatever, but this season can't end soon enough.
Well, it's over now, and they're coming home. They'll be, heck, they're probably already getting to the plane. As a matter of fact, it's been about an hour and a half since the game ended, so they charter in, they charter out, unless Scott Drew wants one more night at Q39, which is, I know, his favorite place there. Then they're probably coming home, and they'll be home this evening. There are a lot of things that didn't work out. The two things glaring, in the aftermath of the Rob Wright transfer to BYU, where Obi Agbim was inconsistent, and Michael Rataj, who they brought in as well, was just not good. He was just not good this year. Dan Skillings was injured for a big chunk of the year, and he was a nice off-the-bench change-of-pace guy, and they didn't have him for several games. I think that hurt them, and they have two guys, Yesufu and Carr, who are absolutely excellent NBA caliber players, but they're not there yet, and they need more around them. Because if it was a bad night for Yesufu or for Carr, then more than likely they were losing. Both of them had to have good nights at the same time, all the time, for them to win, and that's just not really possible in college basketball. Like, there's, for Arizona, if their whole thing was dependent on two or three guys having good nights every night, they would be bad. No matter who those guys are.
Yeah, what's up, chat? What's up, everybody out there? I think one of the most forgettable seasons in Baylor basketball history is now over, and you can go ahead and forget about it and move on to thinking about next year. Not trying to be too cold here, but there are years when you expected them to be pretty bad, and so that wasn't a surprise when they ended up pretty bad. This was not a year, even with the curveball thrown with Rob Wright right before the year, where you thought they were going to be this bad, right? Even with that move, you still thought, okay, well, Cameron Carr and Yesufu, and let's see what they got with these other additions they brought in. And I think Scott Drew can at least coach this team up, and they can be competitive. Certainly not any big grand aspirations, but they can be competitive. And, they were not all that competitive. They had a little bit of a spark there in the second half of the season where they were competitive, and it was just encouraging to see them contend and be in some games. But, as far as this being an entertaining season, it was not. As far as this being a memorable season, it was not. It was just kind of there, in my opinion, and so it comes to a close, not with a bang, but with a whimper. And I guess it's not technically closed because they could go play in some random tournament. But I don't know how much they're chomping at the bit to even do that at this point. If I was them, I think I'd be like, all right, cool. Well, this is it for us. I don't know what good it would do unless you just really want to play some more games together. And you've got maybe one at maximum that you would be guaranteed. So we'll see what they decide to do. I don't know how attracted they are to bring into one of these tournaments. But then again, you've got so many teams in play that everybody seemingly gets a postseason invite at this point.
They'll get an NIT bid, you would think, because they're a Power 4 school and maybe even, believe it or not, host a game.
Okay, well,
but that's about it.
I mean, that's where I just completely lose interest. I mean, as far as I mean, you're right, but I mean that's where I just am not enough of a basketball fan to care in any way about any of that. So for those that do, then you'll get to see this team probably play some more basketball. But it was not a great year or a good year. It was just a year, and we'll see how they go and take the lessons learned this past offseason and apply them. I mean, Cameron Carr seems like he's a certainty for the NBA at this point, and Yesufu is a draft prospect as well. I mean, I think I said the other day I had him backwards with Yesufu being the younger one of like if they can hold on to him, and then Carr's less likely because he's been around a little while, but – if you could hold on to both, that would be the dream scenario. I think that's incredibly unlikely, and we'll see what they do. But I do think that while Scott Drew's not in any danger whatsoever, like they really need to give the fans something basketball-wise, because if you do go back to 2021 when they reached the mountaintop, that gave him carte blanche for like the next forever, for life.
Like tenure.
But he's used up a lot of it in these last 4 or 5 years where it's been just very, very hit or miss and has not been – a shell of what that 21 season was like.
They have not gotten out of the second round of the NCAA tournament since winning the national championship. By the way, Carr, of course, with another big game scoring. Yesufu was terrible, not good in the first half. I don't know what they're going to be. You got to recruit them to come back on your roster because let's not forget Carr's the only one that came back, and he didn't play last year. So we'll see what Scott Drew has. 8 of 33 shooting. Arizona State, give them credit. They jumped on Baylor early. They increased the lead to more than double digits and led by more than double digits early in the second half. Baylor cut it to 3 with 6 minutes to go and then had nothing left. Right now, Cincinnati and Utah are playing in what is the other game in the Big 12, and then, of course, in the afternoon, evening session later on tonight with the Big 12 with a couple more games to win as teams await. Utah trails Cincy 29-20. That game is at halftime.
Something dawned on me. We talked about it briefly. I saw it again on Twitter today, the conversation about where to hold the basketball tournament every year. That is literally an every year conversation now at this point, and I expect it will remain that way with the newer teams further getting accustomed to life in the Big 12 and just kind of getting their say on some things. But somebody put up a map and said, here's Kansas City, and there's like 6 teams that are within 200 miles of that, and then there's a bunch more. And then here's where Las Vegas is, and here's where these other 2 teams, Arizona and Utah, want them to play. And guess who's the closest to Las Vegas? It's Arizona and Utah, and everybody else is kind of over here, the majority at least. And then that led to, well, why not Oklahoma City? Because, look, that's actually super central, and then the conversation turns into, well, OKC wasn't that great, and so on and so forth. My point is I'm sitting here going, all right, well, if most of the people are on this side and there's a couple that are on this side, Arizona has every right to say where they want the conference tournament. How about Utah win something in basketball before we start bending to their demands about where the basketball tournament should be? I just had that thought cross my mind of like, Arizona, sure, you say where you want the basketball tournament to be. We will consider that. Utah, do something, and then we'll consider what you have to say about the basketball tournament. And I didn't intend to take shots at them today. I don't
no, you've been holding that
pander
back
against
yesterday.
Utah like I do see some people do, like where it's just they're the easy target. But yeah, that was just something I was like, why is Utah popping off about the basketball tournament when they don't have that much weight to throw around? So, anyways,
Bobby, go ahead, Paul.
I think that one of those things that they're right about it. Like I think that's contracted out for the next couple of years anyway in Kansas City, so they've already prepared for it. So it's not even a discussion.
No, yeah, they're
right
extended
now. Like they're extended for a few years. Yeah, so
they're not leaving.
It's not even a discussion right now. And while I do think that there is maybe merit to moving it around once in a while, like like the football is always in Dallas. It's probably always going to be in Dallas.
Arlington.
But if they want to throw the football around, like go west and go east give me 3 in Dallas, give me a bookend it with a west and an east around 3 in Dallas. I could get on that bandwagon, except the reason it's all centrally located is you have no idea, who those teams are going to be. I actually don't think were probably long for the conference championship games in football anyway in the way that they were. So when it comes to basketball, I think you got to keep it as centrally located as you can, especially with conferences that go coast to coast.
If Iowa State, KU, and like K-State was down, or these teams in that area were down, they would still go in droves to go watch basketball. That's what they do, like in the state of Indiana or others around the country. Bobby Hurley, I have not been told anything. I talked to my team about the reports about expected parting of the ways. They are playing for each other. I haven't heard anything, but the sources, one of them, Jeff Goodman, is obviously reputable. I wasn't, at least not until now, told anything.
Well, I mean, I guess we'll see. Yeah, we'll see.
Well, he's going to be until they're done.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we'll see.
People thought could be today. Yeah.
I mean, it should have been today. I mean, that's what's even more damning for Baylor is like you went and turned around and lost to a team that likely has fired its coach already. They haven't even informed him about that yet. So I think, I mean, let them continue to play, and it won't be much longer, and then they can make their decision official. But he's been there a long time. Clearly, they're kind of at wit's end, I think, and ready for some change. And so maybe they can go find their next Kenny Dillingham or their next big whoever and really re-energize that program. But, it seems like the Hurley writing has been on the wall for a long time now. So it's not going to surprise anybody if that turns out to be the correct report, and I assume it will be whenever their season does wrap up.
So Utah down 9 at halftime to Cincinnati. Arizona State advances to play Iowa State. And then tonight at 6 o'clock, the other games in the Big 12 Conference in Kansas City, K-State, BYU, and then Oklahoma State and Colorado. And, of course, UCF, West Virginia, TCU await who wins those games. Here's one thing I like. All of the games today were on ESPN+. I thought I saw a sliver of that comment maybe even a day or two ago, but I know. I'm not against the spread. That's
okay, how many of these games, if you're ESPN, how many of these, of the 4 games that are today, how many of them would you have wanted to put on? Like if you had your choice.
This is from Twitter. This is what this conversation's from. Like this is from somebody said on Twitter, and then they were like, "Well, it's Mike and Mike's on it, or no, Pat McAfee's on instead." Well, I mean, Pat McAfee pulls a good number, so
and it brings in revenue. By the way, and this one of the comments, every game today in the SEC on the SEC network. It's the same thing. It's in the first round. There's so many games going on with the opening round.
The other thing is that's what the SEC network is for. The Big 12 doesn't have a network. They very purposefully don't. I mean, they've been pretty adamant through a couple of different commissioners that they weren't going to do that.
Well, because it wouldn't be successful.
Exactly. And so the
SEC guy, by the way, is tomorrow, those games I mentioned.
But like the ACC network is not exactly, I'm sure it makes money for the conference, but I don't think that they shut the doors and be like, watch out, NBC, we're coming for you. That's not really how it is. This is the Big 12 network. This is how it exists. It's on ESPN+.
I've watched many a game.
So if, yes, the SEC has their own channel. Great. So they're going to be over the air. Well, I mean, that's just not the modern reality.
Also, Arizona, Houston, KU, and Texas Tech, remember, don't have to play till Thursday, waiting for all the others to take care or not take care of their business. TJ Otzelberger, that's who Arizona State will play next at Iowa State. This graphic came out, and I was like, man, that's pretty damn impressive because Iowa State's had some good coaches. Tim Floyd went on to coach in the NBA. Larry Eustachy, Fred Hoiberg, who's doing well at Nebraska. Steve Prohm recently, and then Johnny Orr's like an old legend. His 41 weeks ranked in the AP top 10 is the same number as everybody below him combined. That's the kind of work that TJ Otzelberger has done for Iowa State and the Cyclones men's basketball team.
I just hope he stays. Like, that's the thing at Iowa State. It's a fantastic program with a lot of passionate fans. They love basketball there, Hilton Magic and all of that, but they have been a stepping stone job. And look, Jamie Pollard's going to love this. We have him on later today, but he's in the perfect situation for that university. I don't know if it's the perfect situation for him, but it looks like it almost is. And he's making a lot of money. They're doing really well. They're constantly up there. So there's not many jobs that I would personally leave Iowa State for. Now, look, Fred Hoiberg, the NBA got him before he is now at Nebraska. So that was a tough one. I think, he had a lot of potential. Of course, he's was the favorite son there at Iowa State before he left. But I like TJ Otzelberger a lot as a coach, and he's there with his guns on the sideline and doing his thing, and they're a legit title contender.
41, and the others combined 41 weeks inside the top 10. By the way, if Otzelberger was to move on, one of the guys that would be absolutely a serious candidate would have been J.R. Blunt. He is now headed to the University of San Diego, just 38, and known as one of the most bright, best assistants in men's basketball. That's a note that came down yesterday. We'll talk with, again, Jamie Pollard at 4 o'clock today.
What job are y'all expecting him to take?
TJ Otzelberger? No, I'm just saying I just don't want him to.
Okay.
I'll
just keep saying, if he's there, and I'm like, where's he going?
I just know that, once – if there's a big job that opens up, his name's going to get thrown around for it. That's going to be my assumption because he's done so well, and they've gotten sniped so many times before with their other good coaches, and he's obviously outpaced all of them. I don't think he's going anywhere right now, but again, we don't know which big job
it won't be Kansas State.
Open up. Yeah, he's not going to go.
The Boston College is open. Arizona State, which is open. Cincinnati's Wes Miller looks like he has staved off anything because of the run they made,
is something like
LSU could be open.
Yeah, LSU could be open, something like that. Those are the things that I worry about is, big conference, Big Ten or SEC money coming and saying hey, what's great, Iowa State? What's even better? This place with more money. And that's what I worry about.
And basketball crazy too.
Yeah.
This is a quick note. Troy is now headed to the NCAA tournament for the second consecutive year. Their head coach is Scott Cross. We brought this up. We had him on, in fact, last year. Scott Cross was at UT Arlington as the winningest coach they've ever had in that university. Not even close. Their AD decided to fire him. He's gone to Troy, rebuilt their program. He's been to back-to-back NCAA tournament appearances. I covered him. He was at Tyler Junior College at one point as a player, and Troy has taken advantage of a UT decision to fire somebody who was pretty successful with the Mavericks.
And now there's going to be another name that's going to be in the water. Scott Cross, especially those mid-majors, that's where they start to look there. And I still, looking back, can't believe UTA let him go. When you look at what he did there.
21 and 13.
Yeah. Occasionally, and this is what I do think athletic departments need to realize. Occasionally, you're going to have dips. How big are those dips? Are they cavernous dips? Are they, we just didn't have the guys this year. But then they get them back, and you have, 1 year you're 21 and 13. The next year you turn around and, you're 7-8 games better. And that was just because, we had injuries, we had this. These are our things. It just seemed to me, and maybe we don't know everything that's going on there. We definitely don't know everything that's going on. But, is it a blip or is it a trend? And I think sometimes athletic departments and fans react to blips over trends.
He had a 15-1 conference record, NIT 2011 and 12. Then they were 19 and 14. Had a losing record the year they decided to move. Had a losing. No, he was 27 and 9. And then 21 and 13, they decided to move on. He is winning at Troy. Now, Evan Miyakawa will join us today at 3:40. He put this up, and I don't know, one of the national college basketball writers, he is projecting that this is the worst year ever for bubble teams. Objectively, the worst we've ever had is what he said. Worst bubble years, a lot of them have been in the last 7 years. This one here, based on all of the analytics, we'll have him at 3:40, is the worst year ever. We mentioned yesterday that 13 teams that were kind of in that bubble area lost over the weekend, from what Evan Miyakawa had to what Joe Lenardi had, and I'm not sure what that means. Maybe at the top of the list, the separation's more than ever before. He'll join us at 3:40 with that.
Well, yeah, there's not there's nobody on the bubble that you would really have to go to bat for like maybe in the past, especially some mid-majors. It's not been that kind of year to this point, and it could get. I mean, it's championship week. It's going to get wild. There's likely going to be somebody who should be in from a one big league that loses, and now somebody else is in, and then that usually means that instead of that team getting in, somebody from one of the Power 5 conferences is going to move up the charts and get in. There's 11 teams right now projected to get in the SEC, and this year is not nearly as good as last year. Now, obviously, all but 2 teams didn't make it last year, or 3 teams, so this is worse. But sometimes because you have 68 teams, I think Craig made this point yesterday. It was like there's enough. I mean, you don't need to really spend a lot of time holding your stomach about this.
The SEC and Big Ten right now, the SEC at one point, they had 11 in the Lenardi bracketology. Right now, that's dropped back with the Big Ten with 10. The Big 12 at ACC with 8 each. A couple of notes before we get to a couple of other stories. And this is not something that I sent in until I saw this right before I left today to come to the studio. So there's always something, whether it's laws, whether it's guys suing this or that, or realignment, or what. The NIL clearinghouse created to pass and look at deals when it comes to college athletics. The College Sports Commission, run by Brian Seeley today, with a quote that the current system was not built for the current NIL market, that there are numerous, dozens upon dozens upon dozens of NIL contracts that have not yet been moved on, approved, or said, no, we need to have more information. They cannot keep up with it.
Well, that would explain why we know literally nothing about it. Do you know how it works, Smokey? Like
I absolutely have no idea.
If I wanted to give Craig an NIL deal right now and submit it to the clearinghouse, and you were the university and waiting to see if we're going to get this deal through, how would we explain it to Craig and to everybody? Like, this is when Craig's going to get my money. There's no way, because they haven't explained it to literally anyone. It's just like, we have the clearinghouse, the schools agreed to the rules, this is what we're going to do, and now they have this thing, they've got this ridiculous backlog of things that they can't approve. So if they don't know what they're doing, when I hear this, I've heard a couple ADs say, like, well, I mean, the clearinghouse is coming and they're going to make some of these deals illegal. I was like, what organization do you think is running the clearinghouse? And it's not, they don't even know. So how are you going to and I'm sure there's some dirty deals out there that are going on. That's always going to be the case. But how are you going to call some deals that might be legitimate, illegitimate, if you don't even know what they are? But it doesn't surprise me at all that now that it's gotten so backlogged and bad that the head of the whole thing has to come out and be like, hey, we don't know how to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised. I'm also not surprised that schools, as expected, are already trying to bend the rules.
Yep.
So I'm so sick and tired of this, oh, my God, I can't believe it. Why is nothing working? Because the people don't want it to work. The same ones bitching every day about this, the same people who were in Washington, D.C. on Friday bitching, and that's all that was, ultimately was a big bitch fest. They are the same ones running leagues whose schools are constantly trying to break the rules that they set up for themselves. So, of course, it's not going to work. And, of course, this was a mess because there's just way too many moving parts, and this is just way too fluid of a thing to begin with where, yeah, even, people who cover it every day don't quite understand exactly what the rules of anything are at this point, much less what this clearinghouse, this commission, it's CSGO Sports, it's there's 5 different things, or unless it's the same entity under 5 different names, I can't hardly keep track. Most of all, I can't hardly care at this point. You go, is every day every day it is something, but I just don't care enough to care about every single thing every single day. So, unsurprisingly, this wasn't the magic wand. The meeting on Friday also wasn't a magic wand. It's at best theatrics with a little bit of enforcement attached, but ultimately, nothing's going to get done in a serious manner until the schools themselves are the ones that stop trying to cheat to get their own benefit, and that's never going to happen. So, unless they get some, magical gift thrown their way from the politicians, which again has its own hurdles, then this is going to be the case with anything. I don't know how it works. I don't know that the schools know how it works. I don't know that they care. I also know that there's also realistically, even if everybody's on the same page with it, just the fact that, hey, there's a lot being thrown our way. How do you determine this Harley-Davidson offer from this Kalshi offer versus, like, is this legal for them to do? I don't know. Like, there's so many questions that I do think you need to get, like, Darren Heitner. I can't believe I'm getting to this point now.
I'm
but
about
get,
to
like,
give you a
freaking
quote from
Darren
him.
Heitner
Yep.
and get, like, people who know the laws.
Yep.
And if you got to pay him a little bit of money to turn on the other side because he's making it so good on breaking all the rules they try to set up, then so be it. It would be a lot easier and ultimately a lot more cost efficient than just fighting battles against the likes of him for the next 10 years and losing them seemingly every single time outside of the Damon Williams case. So
Actually, I don't think they need to go get the Darren Heitners and Tom Mars of the world. I think they need to pay their own attorneys that they're already paying
To do their freaking job?
to
get, yeah.
instead of suing or countersuing and all this, tell us why we keep losing.
Well,
and then
that's
build
what I
us
mean.
out.
I'm not saying, like, go hire them to defend you. I'm saying
because
just, like, what are we doing? How can we make this work?
They know.
I would think they would. I know that they make money off of lawsuits. That's exactly what they do. But here's a couple of things from Darren Heitner, okay? My notes from the newest report. No explanation for why any deals were not cleared. So if one has not been cleared, there's no communication with who submitted it. No information about the 18 deals consolidated into a single arbitration, resubmitted not cleared deals, and those in the revision window are omitted. We have no clue how many deals are in purgatory. They boast, CSC, that the average review time is 50% in 24 hours, 70% in 7 days since launch, but there is no clarity about how long a review is taking on any of the deals, with the volume only getting higher.
Well, I would guess that some of this NIL clearinghouse, while it says it's not fully run by AI, I think they've run most of it by AI. And what the thing is with AI is it's super cool that it exists, but it's not as efficient as you need it to be. And if they're just putting these deals in and it's spitting them out, and the AI doesn't tell you why, the human beings who are in charge of that is like, oh, this is rejected, this is rejected, this is rejected. I don't think this is something you can put in a computer right now. I really, really don't, unless you get super, super specific. Because as smart and intuitive as AI can be, it still only knows what it's been told and what's out there. And there's too much out there for it to really do accurate.
Don't start
Exactly.
something if you don't know what you're supposed to be looking at.
Well, and I do think that Deloitte, which is a massive company that does this, sold the NCAA, CSC on this, like, hey, we figured this thing out. It'll be so fast, and that's absolutely not true.
Craig, because of your words of bitching, we now have people in the chat who are all now saying that the dragon knows and that you're spot on. And now they're all following suit in the chat room. I got to be careful of the words they're using.
Well, I'm sorry to throw out the extreme language from all you innocent folks in the chat room, but
They're not innocent.
no, I just and like you get all worked up about, like, every day it's something, and it's like, yeah, I mean, because every day it is something, but, like, I don't think people even care this much about this thing. Like, I mean, I think we all care about the end result, but I don't think we all care about the day-to-day, because the day-to-day is so frustrating, and it's maddening if you follow it on a daily basis, because it seems like nothing does ever get done. It seems like it's always one step forward, two steps back. It seems like every time there's a real solution, it's immediately got a machine gun shredding it with holes, telling you why it's not realistic. Like, minutes after it's dropped, following months and months of work of, like, all right, we're finally ready to unveil, and 5 minutes later, Tom on Twitter's going, this is why it won't work, this is why it won't work, and this is why it won't work. It's like, y'all spent all that time just to put together something that's immediately got holes shot through it. Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
And then you
That's my
spend
whole
all
point.
this time.
Yeah.
Well, I know, but it's like, that's why it's daily.
Well,
it's crazy. But at the same time, you have, again, people in Washington, please, Mr. President, please save us, please help us. You're the only, help me, Obi-Wan, you're our only hope. Like, at the same time, the moment they turn around and they cheat the system that they are trying to enforce.
Which is like I said yesterday, they're not negotiating this. They're not talking about it in earnest. They are not being honest about what they really want.
What they really want is the old system where all the old men got all of the money, the athletes got nothing, they had all of the control, and they'll give a little bit, they'll concede a little bit, but they'll be damned if they concede all of it, because next thing you know, their pockets are a lot lighter and the athletes are a lot heavier. And it's one thing when it's football and it's bringing in the big money and all of that, but like I'm sitting here seeing we can't pay the bills. You're paying $50 million for your football roster. Like, of course you can't pay the bills for volleyball. Like, I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Well, my point is, and it's my opinion, it is every day, and it's annoying because about the time I think, okay, we haven't gotten through anything. Nothing really has changed whatsoever, and it just makes me crazy that a bunch of leaders allegedly cannot figure it out and get something done. And as soon as you think they do, something's going to be a lawsuit.
The other thing that the CSC said is that the influx of third-party deals was beyond their expectations. And you're like, what were your expectations?
How is the system already too old for what it's supposed to be working when the system's less than a year old? Like, what did you eat? What kind of preparation did you even do for this system that probably cost millions of dollars to put together, only for it in a matter of 6 months be talked about as being useless and out of date? Like, that's the kind of stuff where I'm just like, man, these are just grifters grifting and making money, doing stuff that never actually finishes or fixes anything. And what a cush gig. Like, please allow me to be a part of this. If I had more foresight, I would have gone into administration, because as frustrating as it is that we now have to share the money, like, nothing ever gets done. Like, nothing ever truly changes. Nothing. It's just, oh man, it's so frustrating.
I just don't understand how you cannot get it done. But again, I don't understand the legal system. And you're right. Those who are bitching are the ones who are also circumventing the rules.
And when it comes to the CSC, this is not really a legal system issue. This is, to me, reeks of Silicon Valley, where, some things work. Like they come out, they have these great algorithms, they have these great programs, these great apps, and they work, right? And then a lot of times what happens is you've got people who are investing and incubating and all these other buzzwords you hear around Silicon Valley, and a programmer comes up with the framework of an algorithm that could do this. Remember the AAFL, the All-American Football
Not
League?
Really.
But one of the reasons it got popular and people wanted to invest in it was because they had an algorithm that was going to be used, they could sell to the casinos, they thought, or said. Now, what happened was somebody programmed an algorithm. They had the very early framework for something that they felt that they could use. It wasn't finished, but then the salespeople said, well, we've got to go. The money people said, we got to go. So they hired a slick guy in a suit to go in boardrooms and, show a demo that supposedly worked. And then when they threw more information into it, it wasn't ready and crashed. That feels like what happened here.
All right, let's go over some commissioner comments. Go ahead, Craig.
Yeah, okay, great. I think I want to clarify on what I said about I should have gone into the lawyer business when it comes to these college problems, because it's a never-ending job. It's a never-ending job to defend the athletes' rights and to poke holes in the NCAA. And I think Darren Heitner and people like him who were smart enough to jump into that deep end of the pool are very smart, because, they have no shortage of cases to dissect and to win. And it's just maddening from an outsider's point of view that these people in control seemingly have none of it, actually. They seemingly have little to no control, and they're trying to wrest back the archaic control they used to have, even though that's proven unlawful and entirely illegal. But let's keep waging that war that's likely never going to be won, because we literally have no other options now at this point other than just taking the bullet that is collective bargaining. And I can understand why they don't want to do that, but man, they've had like 2 or 3 years to find other solutions, and every single time an apparent solution pops up, there's always something immediately afterwards where you go, yeah, that's not really a solution. So,
well, in some cases, even when they release it, at the moment you see some of the sports attorneys, et cetera, already putting bullet holes in it. Yeah, you're right. Brett Yormark today at the Big 12 had a press conference, went over some of what he thinks of the Big 12. One of them was that he's focused on rules and enforcement. That's his top priorities in the Big 12. He said he just got off a call with the other four commissioners in the Power Four. He was at the White House roundtable. I never heard much of what he said, if anything. He said there's momentum for the SCORE Act. He also says tampering and eligibility are topics they're trying to address at the NCAA level, and rinse and effing repeat.
The SCORE Act seems like very archaic. So you mean to tell me the schools have all the authority? You mean to tell me that athletes can't be employees? No chance of that. Absolutely prohibited. They get antitrust shield from what would that be considered? Would you just be given an antitrust shield? I guess is that delegated by somebody in particular?
Yeah, I mean the government would give you.
So schools get all the say again. They get full authority. Athletes don't get employment. Mm-hmm. They get shielded by the government from antitrust. Mm-hmm. Stricter transfer policies where they're now saying you can only transfer once or twice, and that's our rules. You have less medical post insurance after your career, where the SAFE Act's 5 years, SCORE Act's 3 years, and then they have not elaborated on how scholarships would work yet. So I can see why the politicians or the presidents would love the SCORE Act. Tell me why anybody else, fans I can understand, because fans don't care about the details of it. They're just like, does this mean that everybody's just playing college football and they're mostly college kids? Or not mostly, but they're like, they actually feel like college kids still because they're not 90 or seniors or whatever on their sixth school, but they're like at most at their second, maybe their third school, but they're like within 5-year range. Like there's people that would definitely say like, yeah, screw the kids. Like I want my cleaner, more black and white college football the way that it used to be. I can understand where a fan like myself would want that. But why in the world would the athletes or anybody involved want to be a part of the SCORE Act?
Haze out of the barn.
It takes all of their power they just gained the last few years, and it basically takes it away, does it not? Or am I reading this incorrectly?
No, yes, they're trying to get back control of what they lost and what they had for a long, long time because they were greedy as hell. They eventually were worn out with lawsuits and lost one after
Paul,
another.
am I right on that?
Look, the SCORE Act.
I thought I said yes, but
I'm just asking for a second opinion.
Yeah. No, the SCORE Act is not going to make it through the Senate. I don't think it'll make it to the House either. I mean, there's only a one-person majority right now, and that guy might have to resign here soon because of a scandal. So if we are at even on either side of the aisle there, and then there are also senators on the Republican side who don't like the SCORE Act either. So the SCORE Act's not going to make it through the Senate. It's absolutely not going to make it through the Senate. So anything that says the SCORE Act has momentum is bullcrap. It's absolute bullcrap. It has momentum in that, like, they might be able to rewrite it and reintroduce it, but it is not going to pass both houses of Congress. It will not. And so this is absolute positioning and bullcrap when it comes to this bill because it will not pass because it tries to turn back the clock too much. And everybody involved with the SCORE Act has been told as much, which is why most of the people, that's why Cody Campbell didn't initially support it in its form that it was. He supports some of the additions they've made to it, but that's why he had the Save College Sports Act, which is a lot different than that.
Well, commissioners talking, Sankey yesterday, Yormark today. Yormark also said, by the way, if you like me now, you're going to love me when the new media market opens up in 2030. There was one comment from the president at Mississippi State that we will get to later in the show. We'll also look at a couple of notes when it comes to spring football practices, who opened up this week, who's doing what. But Mississippi State President Mark Keenum had a conversation and mentioned a meeting with SEC presidents, that a little bit further down the road.
Yeah, I think Yormark mentioned in 2030 we'll get the fan base of the Big 12 riled up and get people excited about the possibilities. I never would have expected that he would be around that long, if he still is. I mean, we've got another 3.5 years to go, so we'll see on if Brett Yormark's still commissioner by 2030. But I could see that being his swan song and like his final big thing is securing this next TV contract and whatever that looks like. But it's going to be really interesting because as we talked about, and if you're into sports media and especially the future of college football rights at all, then our interview yesterday was pretty good with Patrick Crakes, kind of discussing all of this. And I'm curious to know how much money he thinks is out there and what kind of deals he's planning on swinging, because on the one hand, you've got Cody Campbell within his conference trying to get everybody on the same page with the same TV deal. That's not going to happen by 2030, one wouldn't think. But then if it doesn't, when does it? And Big 12, after the NFL's taken its bite, the Big 10 jumps up there and so on and so forth. What does that look like? So, going to be really curious what the Big 12's offer is looking like by 2030.
What will be the scraps on the table, or will they be more than scraps? That's the question after the NFL is done with everything. Evan Miyakawa on the NCAA tournament. The bubble that he said is so weak. What does he mean? Who are his picks right now as he runs a simulation every day to be in the Final Four? How many teams in the Big 12 will get in? Who is right now weak and struggling to get to the finish line? That and more. Jamie Pollard, Iowa State at 4, and this is 365 Sports. Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it. Marco's Pizza with 5 locations in the Waco area. Fastest growing pizza brand in America. And you go to marcos.com and you can pick and choose what you want. The other day, we had a meeting earlier in the day on Friday. And then we came back and did the show. And for some reason, I skipped. I didn't have anything for lunch. And I all of a sudden kind of felt a little lightheaded. So we did the meeting. I ran over to Marcos, which was about a 10-minute drive at the most around the corner off I-35 with one of their stores inside, like a restaurant-type look. Not just one of those delivery spots where you walk in and walk out, there's not much room. It was very nice to sit down and have a meal inside of the location on Lakeshore Drive in Belmead. Bob Mock, the owner, has been in the pizza business for a long, long time, is from delivering to making to running the store and now owning 5 in the Waco area. Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it.
As my go-to guy, can you fix my smartphone?
Yes.
Do you have car batteries?
Yeah.
What about golf cart batteries?
Of course.
Battery from a G-Fob?
Absolutely.
My boat?
Huge variety.
Toy boat?
Sure.
Motorcycles?
You bet.
My apartment building?
Whole building.
Do you have batteries for my party lights?
Yeah.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
It's time to compete against yourself, finding too many excuses not to work out combined with bad eating habits, and Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness can help reach inside your competitive soul. Discipline, getting results you've only dreamed about, personal training, group exercise classes, and even a tanning bed, world-class tennis facility, and pickleball courts and lessons available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, spacious, clean workout rooms, free weights, state-of-the-art technology, weight training equipment, and no intimidation. It's time for you to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
When you play hard, sometimes you fall hard. Sports injuries require special treatment. At Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, our team of expert doctors provides athletes and active adults with comprehensive sports medicine care, diagnostics. Whether you're in high school, college, or beyond, we'll help you get back on the field. Call on the team physicians for Baylor Athletics. Call Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics.
Whatever it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow, no matter what you nurture or what you choose to grow, at Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
You got batteries for my side-by-side?
Yes.
Replace my flashlight?
Sure thing. What about my business?
Oh, good one.
100%.
Batteries for my fleet of trucks?
Gas floor scrubbers?
Yes, and fire panels.
We have pallets of batteries.
Well, what about...
As your go-to guy, if it needs a battery, we have it.
Well, that's all you had to say.
Could have led with that. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
This 3 o'clock hour is brought to you by QC Kinetics. Feel better, move better, live better with regenerative medicine using your body's own healing abilities for natural pain relief. No surgery, no drugs, no downtime. With locations in Dallas and Houston at QCkinetics.com. Now it's time for 365 Sports.
Here we go. And Evan Miyakawa from evanmiya.com joins us. The Big 12 tournament is underway. A lot of others will be underway and headed towards what will be Selection Sunday. Evan, Miyakawa joins us. And thank you very much, Evan. Great to have you on. And so let's start with the Big 12. 8 teams projected by you, by many people. What's the deal? Where are you with teams like Cincinnati, et cetera, in trying to get in?
Yeah, I think with Cincinnati, they've moved themselves into the conversation, and this was a team a month ago that was not even close to that. But right now, they still find themselves on the outside of the tournament picture. And if we look at what their path in the Big 12 tournament is, pull up my notes here because I was talking about this just earlier. Let's see here. Cincinnati. Okay, so they are playing Utah in their first game, and basically if assuming you get past Utah, that doesn't really do much for your resume. But then you would play UCF, and then you would play Arizona. They need to get that win against Arizona in order to basically add another hefty win to their resume and kind of move themselves from the wrong side of the bubble to the right side of the bubble. That's what I believe Cincinnati needs to do. The odds of them getting all the way there is just 10%, according to my game predictions, because beating Arizona is going to be a really tall task. But if they can do it, it is in their hands. But that's pretty much the path they have in front of them. If they cannot win against Arizona, I still think they will find themselves on the outside of the tournament picture come Selection Sunday.
Yeah, waited too long to get hot, Evan. That's tragically a story for some teams every single year. Is there anyone in the Big 12 that you think is going to, at least that are between the seeds of 1 and 3, that could move up or lose their seed line?
Yes, potentially. If I'm looking at where these teams are ranked, like Houston, I think could, in theory, drop off the 2 line if they were to, say, lose their first game. That greatly depends, though, for teams especially that are in the kind of top of the NCAA tournament 1 through 4 seeds. That as much depends on what the other teams around them are doing. So on the 2 line right now, if, say, Iowa State were to win the entire Big 12, or Nebraska or Purdue were to win the Big 10 tournament, and Houston doesn't win a single game, that team has added enough to their resume that at least on paper it's worth having a conversation. Realistically, I don't think for most of these teams there's a lot that can happen for them, given how good the Big 12 conference is, for them to drop a game in, say, the quarterfinal and massively fall off whatever seed they're on. Because at this point in the season, it's pretty clear what their resumes are. They're not likely to take a bad loss in there. So not a lot is likely to happen in terms of a team losing their seed, unless a team from another conference goes on a bozo run and wins their whole thing, and all of a sudden there's like 3-4 extra really elite wins you have to consider for that other team.
Evan, as you know, there were some teams that got hit with some pretty big injuries down the stretch, like Texas Tech and BYU. How has that changed maybe the pool of like the top-tier elite level contenders that maybe can win it all versus on the other side of that, what does that list look like?
Yeah, I think for teams, we're talking about the biggest key injuries that we've seen. BYU losing Richie Saunders, Texas Tech losing JT Toppin, North Carolina losing Caleb Wilson. Those are probably the big 3 that we've most talked about. I think before those injuries, BYU, Texas Tech, I think had potential to at least make a Final Four. That's how good they were. And losing those players certainly alters the calculus. Do I think those teams are good enough to make an Elite 8 if things break right? Yes. And I think Texas Tech has even shown the ability to withstand the impact of the Toppin injury and overcome serious adversity. So I wouldn't count them out. But the ceiling and the floor is much lower for those teams. They now have the ability to potentially lose in the first round. And BYU, they've been a little bit better in the last week or so, but they really have dropped off a cliff performance-wise, especially defensively without Richie Saunders. So I don't have a lot of hope there. The other significant injuries that more shape the title conversation is right now Duke is without Patrick Ngongba and without Caleb Foster. And based on what we were told today, my expectation would be that Patrick Ngongba would hope to play for most of the NCAA tournament, but Caleb Foster likely won't. I think they're going to try and have him ready for the Final Four if they get there, but I don't think that's a given. And so that definitely does change what Duke can do, but Duke is such a strong team that I don't think big picture it massively changes them from being one of the title favorites to not. I still think they're totally in that conversation. They have the best player in the country by far in Cameron Boozer. They have a very talented squad. Does the depth go down a little bit? Yes, but I still think they have a lot of other talented pieces. So I'm not really moving off them much in terms of thinking they can win the whole thing.
Yeah, the point guard, Foster, broken right foot, and of course, Nganga has a foot injury himself. What are your thoughts about how much does Caleb Wilson at North Carolina, another name, he's out for the rest of the tournament. Where were they as far as you thought their ceiling in the first place?
Well, before the Caleb Wilson injury, North Carolina has shown the ability to win big games. They obviously beat Duke with a healthy roster on their home floor. But even before that, I still wasn't convinced that this was in the list of Final Four contenders. I think before his injury, I had North Carolina on my site as a borderline top 20 team. And when you talk about how good of a player and a freshman Caleb Wilson is, he's arguably been a top 5 freshman in the country this year. And North Carolina really has been led by him and Henry Vasar as their 2 stars. You take that away, the rest of the roster is fine, but not fantastic. And so that, for me, significantly changes and alters their outlook. And right now, if you go to evanmia.com, I do adjust for the injury of Caleb Wilson in terms of predicting how good they're going to be going forward. And North Carolina is now outside the top 40 teams in the country in terms of their predicted strength going forward. Now, ultimately, they still could surpass that, make a Sweet 16, if not further. But I do think they were a lot more vulnerable without Caleb Wilson because he was a tremendous force for them. He was the life and soul of that team. So I really do think that that does change a lot of what their hopes are for March. And it's not a guarantee that they'll even get past the first round, in my opinion, at this point.
Purdue has stumbled of late, Evan. They're not what they were at the beginning of the year, but they certainly have that potential to get hot. Can they fix what's going on with them?
Purdue is probably the most vexing team to me in the country in terms of comparing what the narrative about them is and what the actual advanced analytics and numbers say about how good this team is. Right now, I still have Purdue as the 8th best team in the country, predicting how good they're going to be going forward. Now, they're definitely a step below those top 4 to 5 teams, even Houston, UConn, and Illinois. I think they're a step behind them, but they're still in the top 10. That's a team good enough to make a Final Four. And yet, the narrative around them says this team has bottled every opportunity that they've had in recent weeks and months. They've lost 5 massive games at home to teams that they could have beat. But this team has still been good on neutral courts and on the road this season. For whatever reason, their performances at home have been lackluster and they've come up short. But on paper, this should still be a team, one of the best rosters in the country, one of the most experienced teams. 3 of the starters have played in a national title before. I really thought they would start to have turned a corner by this point. Maybe that happens in Big Ten tournament play, and they can kind of get more people on their side. But right now, if you put a bracket in front of people and said, hey, can you pick Purdue to go to an Elite 8 or Final Four? I think a lot of Purdue fans would say, no, I don't have that level of confidence. So I'm very, very intrigued to see what they do this week and if they can start to show a little bit of what the advanced numbers think in terms of how good they are. Because right now, there's a really wide gap between the numbers and the narrative.
So I saw your note, I think it was yesterday evening, about the worst ever bubble ever, or worst ever, weakest bubble list ever. What do you mean by that?
Basically, what I'm doing is looking at the gap between the best teams in the sport, teams that will be on the 1 seed, 2 seed, 3 seed line, and the crop of bubble teams that are competing for those final spots in the at-large conversation. And the reason why I measure the gap between the best teams and the bubble teams is because ultimately, if we're having a conversation about, man, this is a good bubble or this is a bad bubble, these teams should be in, these teams shouldn't be in. Ultimately, for me at least, what I care about is, do the teams that are getting in the field have a chance of actually being a factor in this tournament? Can they make it Sweet 16? Can they make an Elite 8? Can they cause some noise? And if you look back at previous tournaments, UCLA making the Final Four as an 11 seed, VCU making the Final Four as an 11 seed, NC State just a couple years ago making the Final Four as 11 seed. Those teams happen to be during bubble years in which they were much stronger according to this measurement. The gap between the bubble teams and the top was not very big. This year, it is bigger than we've ever seen before. If you matched up a bubble team against one of those top seeds, they're supposed to get crushed this year more so than ever. And so I think that means that, based on, hey, will the bubble matter? Will these last teams matter in the tournament? The odds are no, it's less likely than ever. Could they? Yes, absolutely. But are some of these play-in teams that will get to Dayton likely make it Sweet 16? It can happen, but it's not as likely as we've had in previous years.
Evan, before we let you go here in a second, man, I wanted to ask you, how do you go about fixing your alma mater? How do you go about fixing Baylor basketball, pal?
Well, this season I think it's a lost cause, unfortunately. And, there's a lot of factors that go into Baylor's down season. I think obviously there are some things out of their control in terms of players like Rob Wright that they were hoping to have back that was a part of their roster calculus that, didn't end up happening. And ultimately they missed on a lot of the guys that they recruited from the mid-major ranks or other players who have been underutilized at high majors. It never fully came together for them this season. And so I think the recruiting ultimately for me, I just never felt, and you look at this in the preseason, it lines up. Their roster just was not as talented on paper as a lot of the other Big 12 teams. Ultimately, that's what came to bear this season. So I think that's probably the main point of emphasis is to kind of rejig how they're doing it there. I have a lot of confidence in any staff that's been struggling to figure it out because Scott Drew and co have literally won a national title, within the last decade. So I think that they can get it done, but there certainly are some questions to be asked for sure.
Is there one team when you run your simulation that is always in the Final Four? Is it like they are in it 9 out of 10 times you run the simulation?
Well, I do think all of the 1 seeds projected right now, Duke, Michigan, Arizona, Florida, all are a significant tier above everyone else. I think that's kind of similar to what we had in coming into last year's tournament. It's not a guarantee all 4 make it. It's still more unlikely than not, but it could be a very chalky Final Four again. That's how good those teams are. So it's Michigan and Duke most commonly, but Florida and Arizona certainly are winning it a lot. But let's have some fun with this. I'm going to run a simulation right now.
Okay.
And what we have is I just clicked the button. Duke has won the national title with Duke over Houston in the title game, and the rest of the Final Four is Florida and Illinois. So 3 of the 4 Final Four teams from last year, with Illinois replacing Auburn, and ultimately Duke gets revenge over Houston. That's not uncommon to what I'm seeing in a lot of these simulations, but thought it would be fun to run one right here for the show.
Evan, I've run about 70 trying to get Kansas into that title game so my wife can, have something that says math says this, and I haven't gotten there yet, buddy. So I'm going to need you to tweak some numbers.
Maybe trying to tell you something.
Just need you to, tweak some things.
Stop being stubborn.
Yeah.
You're going against Evan.
Yeah. I don't know. There's nothing I can – I'm like, look, I'll just tell you. This is why I'm not going to put them in my bracket, babe, because, math.
Yeah. They're one of the most, at times, just elite at what they do. And then at times you're like, well, they're up and down. Evan, man, we're proud of you. You know that. So many people rely on you and your analytics, and it's amazing where you were, where you started, and where you are now. And we're so proud of you, and we appreciate it. Let me know, because the tournament is going to start here pretty soon. If there's one more day for you that's open, maybe even before we get to the first full weekend of the tournament, where you could kind of slide on with us one more time, okay?
Yeah, we can chat about it. Obviously, you guys know this is the busiest and most fun time of year for me, as it is for a lot of people in college basketball. So I'm always happy to talk about it.
You do a great job. Absolutely amazing job. The one that I had that I printed a simulation, Florida, Houston, Arizona, UCLA, and had Florida winning the national title. Yeah. Evan, thank you. Evan Miyakawa with us. Evan Miya, MIYA.com on 365 Sports. Don't let me forget to say something to S. Michael DeHart. Go ahead, Craig.
I mean, I like that he did the live on-air simulation. It'd be brutal for Houston to finish second again, though, right? I can't imagine the fan base and what that would put them through to go on that run. I mean, that's how it is, though. I mean, everybody wants to go on that run every year, and then sometimes it's a Sweet 16 and you celebrate that, and sometimes it's the Elite Eight, and sometimes it's the Final Four, and sometimes the national champion or you're the runner-up. And for Houston, they've just been knocking on that door. I think another runner-up spot would just be absolutely a brutal kick between the legs for Houston fans, even though the journey to get there would be a hell of a lot of fun. But, yeah, man, that'd be good, Duke and Houston. But there's more than a handful of teams that all seem like they've got a chance to get there in the end, so it's going to be a fun tournament. Even if the 64th, 65th, 66th teams aren't quite what they typically are, I still think the top's got some really fun teams, and this will be madness like March always is.
Oh, Houston and Florida last year in April. It was so close, and they just couldn't hold on. And, of course, always remember 83 in that loss to NC State and Jimmy Valvano. S. Michael DeHart and all West Virginia fans. We had this on the rundown yesterday. We got locked in with a lot of stuff, and West Virginia women won the Big 12 tournament. They won the tournament, and that guy does a great job. It's the first time in 12 1 versus 2 seeds in the women's tournament where the number 1 seed did not win. And so congratulations to West Virginia and UT hammering South Carolina to beat the Gamecocks and win the SEC title too.
Yeah, yes, Michael, I had that on the rundown.
I know.
I had that.
I know.
I was there for West Virginia.
All right, rub it in.
Somebody elected to not mention it with all the time we had yesterday. But I just want to let you know that we got some of us got your back. So congratulations on No, that's actually West Virginia's had some ups and downs.
Yep.
And so that was Mark Kellogg, who you're referring to, their head coach, did a great job, and that was a big win and a nice trophy to add to the case for the Mountaineers.
All right, all three of us on this show forgot to mention it yesterday, or you could have interrupted me. But congratulations, literally. I know you've been pumped up about that. Proud to be a Mountaineer, ladies basketball, women's basketball fan. Coming up next, Jamie Pollard, Director of Athletics at Iowa State. Later on, 6 teams in FBS football projected to not lose a regular season game, and 2 of them are in the Big 12. We'll have that and more, and this is 365 Sports. Stonewood Dental, my dentist, Dr. Steve Childress has helped me so much over the last several years since COVID when he was my dentist. I went to him. I knew that I was falling behind. I knew I had something going on with my back right bottom molar. I knew I needed to just go, literally bite the bullet and go, okay, what's wrong? What can you do for all of this? And he did. And he has stayed on top of me. And I went through earlier in the year, I went through a teeth cleaning. I've got another appointment in July. And he is fantastic. They are, Stonewood Dental, an unbelievable place to get your dental work. If you're looking for a dentist, if you're looking for a place, and they have more than just Dr. Steve Childress, there's like 5 dentists always there. They will take care of you from anything really serious, even if you have to have teeth pulled or you have to have a root canal or you just keep it really well and your teeth are fine. Just the cleanings every 6 months. Steve Childress, Dr. Steve Childress, my dentist, he's unbelievable at Stonewood Dental in Robinson, Texas.
I pitched in the major leagues for 24 years, and let me tell you, I can feel it in my joints. Shoulders, elbows, and knees. Trust me, pain doesn't retire when you do. I tried everything to get rid of the pain. Nothing worked until QC Kinetics.
Baseball legend Roger Clemens and other patients are getting lasting relief with QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. No surgery.
I trust QC Kinetics. You should too. Let's commit to getting rid of all the pain.
Schedule your free consultation today. QC Kinetics. Better starts here.
For anyone that's in the car buying mode or looking for a car right now or a truck, I would definitely come by Allen Samuels, get to know the people here like I have, how well I'm taking care of the dealership and how well, service and any kind of warranty issues or those sort of things. Because the way they take care of me, it's made me a Ram driver. I said I don't think they'd want to go anywhere else if they came here.
Like Allen Samuels always said, Waco has a lot to offer, and so do we at Allen Samuels Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Come by, let's be friends.
Hello, I'm Camille Johnson with Camille Johnson Realtors. We specialize in selling residential real estate agent all across our community, and we love serving all types of families. We have been in business at Camille Johnson Realtors for almost 9 years, and I have been a residential real estate agent for almost 40 years. And we love our partnership with 365. So thank you for partnering with me, and thank you so much to all of my clients who have made our company a success.
Serving Central Texas since 1889, TFNB Your Bank for Life takes pride in being more than a bank. TFNB, we remain committed to these principles. If you value them too, come join us. TFNB, your bank for life.
Petty Clinic Men's Healthcare in Woodway is now proud to offer you men an exceptional weight management body sculpting product called semaglutide, also known as Ozempic or Wegovy. Semaglutide is an FDA-approved weight management medication. Once-a-week injections of this powerful medication offers an average body fat weight loss of 20% within the first year of treatment. In addition to body sculpting, semaglutide also normalizes blood sugars and has the clinical research proof of reducing blood pressure, cholesterol, stroke, and heart attack risk. If you're like most men and you have stubborn fat that will just not respond to typical diets and exercise, then help us finally here. Semaglutide, affordable, highly effective. Google search Petty Clinic Waco and reach out to the Petty Clinic team today for a free consultation with Dr. Petty to see if semaglutide is right for you. Go to pettycliniclowt.com.
This 4 o'clock hour is brought to you by Stonewood Dental, your one-stop shop for your dental needs, specializing in teeth cleaning, fillings, crowns, sealants, root canals, IV sedation, extractions, implants, bridges, dentures, full mouth restorations, and bioaesthetic dentistry. Our priority is your comfort from the moment you walk through the front door. Stonewood Dental in Robinson, Texas. Now it's time for 365 Sports.
And it's also time, Jamie Pollard, the Director of Athletics at Iowa State and a good friend of the show who was in Washington on Friday. And, of course, his men's basketball team now knows who they'll play tomorrow with TJ Otzelberger with the great run that they've made. Jamie joins Craig and David Smoak, Paul Catalina. And thank you very much, Jamie. I know your schedule is absolutely locked in. In your opinion, what positive came out of Friday's presidential roundtable from your perspective?
Well, I think it just brought a lot of attention to the issue of the SCORE Act and the need to get the SCORE Act across the goal line and how hard it's going to be, but it's going to take 7 Democrats in the Senate to come to the other side. And what I took from that meeting was, number one, how challenging it is to get anything done politically. Number two, that this really is an issue that shouldn't be bipartisan. It should be nonpartisan. It's about sport. And I'm hopeful that given the number of people that were in that room, that we shined enough light on the subject to say, we better fix this or it's going to hurt higher education in a big time way. And so I feel there's some momentum that's coming out of that meeting, and I'm moderately optimistic that we can finally get some traction. The fact that probably 20 Democrats came over to the Republican side in the House, that they now have the votes in the House if they take it to the floor, is a really good thing. And hopefully we can get that done in the Senate, because the SCORE Act will go a long ways to helping kind of set the structure that we can finally bring some teeth to rules that for the last several years we haven't been able to apply.
Why is the SCORE Act, in your opinion, better than the SAFE Act?
Well, I personally don't know as much about the SAFE Act. I know more about the SCORE Act. In the end, no legislation is ever going to be perfect, especially when you involve politicians, because you're going to have to compromise. What I know about the SCORE Act is it provides us the ability to be able to, for the first time in a long time, set rules and be able to enforce them. It creates, some limited liability protection so we can get out of this business of just paying lawyers for lawsuits. And I think it just sets in motion a model, because I've said all along, whether it's the transfer portal, NIL, coaches' compensation, you name it, those aren't problems, those are symptoms. They're symptoms of a problem we've had for a long time, which is we can't enforce rules because we have a patchwork of states that, want to preempt national, you join the NCAA, a service organization that you voluntarily agree to be part of, but then you want to not play by its rules when it's applicable to you. And so the SCORE Act would provide a national set of rules that states can't preempt.
Jamie, I know you've done a lot of cool stuff in your position and met a lot of cool people, but I know, like, not that you would be starstruck, but what was that scene like on Friday? Just being there at this large table, and there's Nick Saban, and there's the president, and there's, I mean, whoever else was there. Just what kind of an honor was that to be in the mix and involved, and just kind of as an experience, if anything else?
Well, it was fascinating. I'm so glad that I was chosen to be part of it, and I'm glad that I agreed to participate. But it was fascinating. It was, I say it was theater. It was a little bit comical.
Yeah.
But it also was a window into, we were there obviously for sports, and you're right, it was a who's who, Jamie Pollard excluded, but it was a who's who that only probably the president could get in that room on a week's notice. But it also kind of reinforced to me, like, that goes on almost every day in Washington, and it's no wonder nothing gets done. Because it's just so, the cool part was, it's the White House, it's the president, it's, you just the aura of that. But at the same time, it was just drama, and it's grandstanding, and it's, people loving to get the mic and say what they want to say. And so there was just a lot of theater that went on. But at its core, I think what it did is it shined light on the fact that here was a room full of, quite frankly, very distinguished sports figures that were all there for one purpose, not because they were Republican, not because they were Democrat. They were there to say, we've got to do something, and if we don't, higher education is going to crash.
Jamie, is one of the problems with the NCAA that everybody that wants more and wants better rules or more protection are also in some cases the same ones breaking the rules?
Absolutely. You've heard me. I maybe have said it on this show. I think before we finish a sentence of we're going to make this rule, we're already deciding how we're going to get around that rule. So, at some point in time, you've got to be willing to just say, this is it, and I accept the consequences if we don't follow the rules. I'm all for trying to maximize your advantages and find ways to, be the best. But, the NFL, the NBA, Major League Baseball, there's penalties. You can't do certain things. And in college, we say we want rules, but then, we'll hide behind our own state to say, well, it's okay if, we do this. So we got to get past that. And if we don't, shame on all of us, because it's going to crash. And, the one thing I wish on Friday I didn't think was very clear is, I think there's a political piece that, the Republicans want to lay on the feet of the Democrats that aren't supporting the SCORE Act, that it's going to hurt women's athletics, it's going to hurt our Olympic movement. And it may eventually. It hasn't yet, because institutions have found ways to take institutional money and fund deficits in athletic departments. And that can't continue. I mean, that is not sustainable. It's irresponsible. And I said, if we're not careful, we're going to have a savings and loan crisis in front of us. So I hope we get this figured out before it's too late.
Yeah. Jimmy, we talked about it a lot on the show yesterday, and I think there are people like you who are negotiating in earnest in here and saying, like, look, these are problems, and you admittedly say, like, you don't have all the answers, but you would love to get in a room or with people that are like-minded or at least open to compromise. But there are people who are complaining, but they're not really open to compromise. They're just complaining, and they're not going to really negotiate in earnest to make this thing happen, because if this is going to work, everybody's going to have to give up something.
Absolutely. I mean, compromise is how you get anything done. What I've seen, though, in the last several months is a couple things. It seems like almost every day you hear about another institution that is admitting that their athletics department is woefully in deficit, and their institution, their board, or their state is having to to supplement that and kind of bail things out. And we talked about it at Iowa State 9 months ago, and we got ridiculed, but we were one that just was willing to come forward and just say it. And part of the reason we said it is we were trying to get the attention of Iowa lawmakers to say, if we're not willing to do it and every other state is, then we're going to have a problem in Iowa State called being competitive. But now you're starting to hear more schools. I mean, last week you heard about KU's situation. Louisville did a really great job of articulating their particular situation. We've heard about Rutgers, we've heard about Penn State, we've heard about North Carolina. Wisconsin this week announced their problems. So more and more are now kind of feeling comfortable saying it. And I think that's the tide is starting to turn, but we're still not there yet. And I hope that common sense prevails before it's too late.
The men's tournament has tipped off. Also, a game that's already over. Iowa State will play Arizona State. TJ Otzelberger and what he has accomplished. I read a list earlier today of how many weeks he's been ranked, Jamie, in the top 10, which is 41, which is the same exact number as everybody else who's ever been there at Iowa State, and some really good coaches who have 41 combined. Your thoughts, and what like immediately did you know he was the one when you went to search for a replacement?
We did. I mean, I'd be lying if I said I thought he was going to be in the spot he's in right now, because what you just said is pretty impressive. And I can tell you, nobody thought that, because there was a lot of people that were criticizing me for, quote, hiring him. But, he had been with us for, 12 years, 13 years as an assistant coach. And so I knew him really well as a person. I knew what he stood for. I knew how he did things. I knew how he recruited. I knew how he thought. And that, for the last 4 years, has been exactly, what I knew he would be. And that relentless commitment, and a lot of people, talk about being committed, but can they relentlessly do it? And, he just is so dogged about how they do everything. From how you enter the building to how you take care of your locker room, to how you prepare, how you shake hands, how you greet people, how you play, how you practice. And that has paid off because, we aren't the most talented team. Clearly, Arizona and Houston are a lot more talented than us. But, we play as hard as anybody in the country. And when you play hard and you're committed and you're willing to play defense, good things will happen more often than not. And that's why you're in the, ranked 41 straight weeks.
Have you ever arm wrestled him before? Would you?
No and no.
He's got some guns.
I haven't, and I don't like to lose, so I'm not.
Now, when you have a coach that has established something so well there, what is his vibe with the fans? Because they seem to really, really do love him. And I'm just curious because they really love Fred Hoiberg, and then he, because he was one of their own. But if you told me TJ Otzelberger also was a 3-point hero for Iowa State back then, the way they seem to love him, it just kind of makes sense to me, the way that he and the fans interact.
Well, let's not forget this. Everyone loves winners, right? So winning is clearly a big part of that. But I also think if you were to talk to our fans, they would say how he wins. And, he is just a really respected individual, how he treats people. He is, his relentless commitment to doing the right thing, bleeds over into how he writes notes to people, how he follows up with people. I mean, when I first was around him years ago, at first I kind of thought, well, no one, this is probably phony. This is contrived, right? He's a recruiter. And then I saw it over time, and, I just started to realize, you couldn't fake this because you'd eventually stumble. And it's just who he is. And so I think our fans sense that, and so they appreciate it, his wife is in our Hall of Fame, one of the greatest Big 12 basketball players ever, Allison Lacey. And so, he fits Iowa State really well. And, that enables him to, be well liked, even, despite just saying, well, they only like winners. I would say they like who he is as a person.
Jamie Pollard, athletic director, director of athletics at Iowa State with us. You had to make a decision recently that I'm sure gutted you with the gymnastics program, which has had a great history and a bunch of NCAA appearances in the last 20 years or so. How difficult is that besides the obvious? And what actually led to that? Because I'm sure you didn't want to have to get rid of that program.
Well, we don't have time to go into the detail. What I would tell you is this, I view my role ultimately as like the head coach, and each of our sports are our players. And if you were coaching a team, let's say you were coaching the basketball team, and you had one of your players who, wasn't one of the starters, but was a role player that you loved having at practice and, and had their moments, right? But if they were continually being disruptive to the program, were continually having issues in the assistant coach's offices all the time, having their parents call the head coach multiple times, wanting to interfere with what was going on, at some point in time, that head coach would say, it's about time we've got to make a change. This player can no longer be on the team. We see it every day in college athletics, right? Players get dismissed from their teams. That's what I would liken this to. I'm the head coach, and at some point in time, it was becoming such a distraction to everybody in our department, whether you worked in mental health, whether you worked in academics, whether you worked in the athletic training room. It just got to a spot where our staff were looking at me like the head coach and saying, what are you going to do about it? Because this is a distraction to our swim team, to our football team, to our basketball team, because too many people are having to divert their attention to, a player on the team that's taken up a lot of everybody's time because they continue to have issues. And, those issues were over an 8-year period and multiple coaches. And so in the end, we just felt like at Iowa State, we couldn't get gymnastics right. And, I'm not pointing fingers at anybody. I'm just saying it's a fact. We couldn't get it right like we do the other 17 sports. I mean, we're second right now in the overall Big 12 sports standings for this year. We were in the top 25 in the Directors Cup this fall. If our football team had played in the bowl game, we'd have been 19th, and we'd won the bowl game, we'd have been 11th. So we have so many great things going on in our athletics program. And then we had this issue that just wouldn't go away. And so we decided it was time that we needed to move on, and we're going to add another women's sport that provides equal or more opportunities. And, we'll spend our time over the coming weeks and months to get that set up, and most likely for the 27-28 school year.
Jamie, I asked Doug McNamee, who was here in studio with us about a week ago, this question, and I'll probably ask a lot of athletic directors this type of a question, but the profession's obviously changed a bit. You have to be a bit more well-versed in maybe areas you didn't have to be 5 or 10 years ago. If you were talking to a group of like young, aspiring college sports people that wanted to be an athletic director one day, outside of just the traditional path and classwork that takes you that direction, what's an area that you would suggest they kind of look into or get some education on to be best prepared to be an athletic director in this day and age?
Oh, wow. Great question.
Yeah.
Because I've always been one that said there is no magic pill that you can take to be this. People come with all different angles. And, at the end of the day, a big part of this job is being able to compartmentalize, but multitask like no tomorrow. If sometimes I kind of take a step back and go, people have no idea the diversity of issues that can cross my desk in a given day. And all of them, take, somebody with expertise in any one of those areas to be able to know it. But in the end, as the director, you're responsible for it. And so you've got to rely upon other people, but you need to be able to pivot and switch gears and be a chameleon as you work your way through the multiple issues. And so to me, the biggest part I would say is you've got to be able to multitask like no other. Communication skills are always going to be at the forefront of being a leader of an organization. And I think, our younger people, I worry a lot because they become so reliant upon these items to talk in short sound bursts where they're not having to look somebody in the eye and deal with them face to face. But, that's what makes this world go around, is people interacting with others. But just being able to multitask across so many different subjects, even when you're maybe not the expert in any one of them, but being able to get up to speed, trust those people that are working for you and with you that are the resident experts, and then being able to have people's back and stand up and take the consequences of being the leader. The gymnastics situation is no different. Our staff looked to me, and I was the one that had to be the face of it, but I'm not the one that was dealing with it on a daily basis, but in the end, I have to own it because it's part of my department. I'm the head coach.
My last question, Jimmy Rogers, now you're football coach, Matt Campbell, who did an amazing job, and obviously the way you all thanked him as he went to Penn State, but the roster was absolutely turned upside down, which we see a lot now in college sports. How has Jimmy handled it? And we'll get him on the podcast at some point during spring football, but your thoughts about how he's handled it with so much being changed.
Jimmy and his staff have done an amazing job, and what I'd tell you is don't sleep on the Cyclones. We love that we've been picked to be 15th or 16th because we say bring it on. I saw his quote. He said, I guarantee you we won't be 16th. But, his experience last year at Washington State going through this was a huge asset coming into it because they didn't come in and, deer in headlights. They knew exactly what they were going to face. Quite frankly, he had less turnover this year at Iowa State than he experienced a year ago at Washington State. And, they got bowl eligible and played a really tough schedule, played at Virginia, James Madison, Ole Miss, and, did extremely, extremely well. So we're very excited about where we're at, and I think we're going to surprise some people this year.
Thank you, Jamie. Appreciate your time. We really do. And good luck moving forward with whatever can be done in college athletics to make it much more or less complicated and much more about what's happening on the field. Thanks for your time and have a great week.
Well, thank you. And I'm sorry we're not going to be playing the Baylor Bears tomorrow morning.
No, you got to take on a team that's fighting for their coach, although it's probably too late. Thank you, Jamie Pollard, AD, Director of Athletics at Iowa State. When we come back, there are 6 teams. Well, we got some college football to get to. The spring football drills and practices for some have started, some about to start. I did spend time earlier today with Joey McGuire, Texas Tech head coach. We'll have him tomorrow. But a couple of other nuggets in college football. That's next. This is 365 Sports. The Baylor Alumni Network, they're not in Kansas City after probably another few hours. They were going to have all sorts of things set up at the team hotel and more, helping the team as they left each day to go play another game, which they're now done after the loss earlier to Arizona State. But they will travel the country wherever Baylor might be involved in athletics, whether it's a national tournament, a Big 12 tournament, a bowl game, or something else. Doug Furch and Paul Thorpe do a great job of making sure wherever they are, they're there to help you also celebrate, enjoy, and also be a part of wishing the team and the program and athletic department a great amount of luck. The Baylor Alumni Group, go to baylor.edu.
I pitched in the major leagues for 24 years, and let me tell you, I can feel it in my joints. Shoulders, elbows, and knees. Trust me, pain doesn't retire when you do. I tried everything to get rid of the pain. Nothing worked until QC Kinetics.
Baseball legend Roger Clemens and other patients are getting lasting relief with QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. No surgery.
I trust QC Kinetics. You should too. Let's commit to getting rid of all the pain.
Schedule your free consultation today. QC Kinetics. Better starts here.
The time is now. It's time for a new ride at the New Year New Ride Savings Event at Richard Carr GMC Buick Cadillac.
Sierra blends the premium interior with the muscle of a true work truck, built to handle the job and look good doing it. It's why GMC Sierra is the best truck on the road. During our New Year New Ride sales event, qualified buyers can save $13,000 on a Sierra. Drive one home today for just $41,390.
Call now, get here now, or log on now for the New Year New Ride Savings Event at Richard Carr.
Richard Carr, they have the truck for you.
Pepperoni Magnifico. Pepperoni Magnifico. Marco's Pepperoni Magnifico. Classic and crispy cut pepperoni, 3 melty cheeses, all on our fresh made dough. And starting at just $12.99 for a large, it's no wonder Marco's was named America's favorite pizza chain.
With over 25 years of excellence in IT, Carrion Solutions is your trusted technology partner. From managed IT services to cutting-edge cybersecurity, our expert team delivers tailored solutions that drive success. Our portfolio includes products such as Veeam, Bitdefender, Microsoft, Cisco, and Fortinet. Call David Carrion and his team of experts. Call 888-522-2221 or visit us at carrionsolutions.com.
Are the adventurous. Determined are the leaders. Faithful are the healers. At Baylor, you'll find your calling, your people, and your purpose. Dare to be you, indeed.
This is 365 Sports.
Spring football starting for a lot of teams. Some have started, been going on for a couple of weeks. Again, I mentioned earlier today spending time with Joey McGuire and what Texas Tech will try to do for an encore. A lot of interesting notes from Joey. That's for tomorrow. Here is Houston quarterback Connor Wigman, what the Cougars did, Willie Fritz did, what they did last year. That wasn't expected, but don't tell them that. And so what are the expectations for Houston football as they go through spring drills for this year?
I mean, the sky's the limit for this program, and Coach Fritz got this program on the right trajectory, and just building off what he started in that recruiting class or transfer class from last year. I mean, we got good things going, and we're just going to continue that and hopefully have a better year this year. Yeah, I mean, that's what we want this program to be, a program that's on the national stage and off phase recruiting, playing, and hopefully we'll be there in December and January playing on the national stage.
There he is, the quarterback and Connor Wigman. Willie Fritz joined us a couple of weeks ago. Houston underway. Craig, you'd mentioned in an email there's others starting this week, and of course there'll be some more also that start in the future too.
Yeah, there will be. Spring ball is just getting underway, so everybody's starting to kind of unravel their gear and their banners and getting everything sort of started up for the countdown to 2026 and the full regular season. And it's not what it was by any stretch, the old spring football, the way we kind of consumed it and everything. But it is still of interest, and especially when the other options to talk about are political or legal or, I don't know, just stuff like that. I'm thanking the Lord for spring football right now, just to give us something, even if it doesn't amount to quite what it amounted to 5 or 10 years ago, as far as it was like, I guess it's a little bit more in control now because of the portal changes, as opposed to the last few years when it's like, all right, spring football's here. How many guys did we just lose off our team at the end of spring football? And what was the point of this entire exercise when we just did all these practices just to lose guys right after these practices wrapped up? Like, I think closing that loophole is going to be beneficial. But, yeah, there are several teams starting this week. Texas, Oklahoma, Alabama, all starting out of the SEC. And in the Big 12, you got quite a few teams starting as well. West Virginia got going over the weekend. And You also have, what was it, Colorado? I don't have the list in front of me, so whatever I sent in that email, it was Colorado, I believe, was on there, and a couple of others. So, yeah, we got kind of almost the full meal deal now with enough teams going on that it's kind of spread across the country. And in the coming weeks, everybody else will join the fray. And then here pretty soon at the end of the month, we'll start having our taste of spring games or spring. Really what I've seen is like spring events is what it's turned into. Everybody's doing like the fan experience type of a thing. It appears, and very few are still doing the traditional Nebraska, we're going to sell out our spring game and have 100,000 people there. Like those days are pretty much days gone by, I think, for most any team, including Nebraska. They're not even pursuing it that heavily anymore. So, yeah, it's different, but, man, it's also refreshing. I don't know about you guys, but it's just good to have a little bit of football, even if it's 6 months out to talk about, because that's, after all, why I love this sport to begin with is the football side of things, or this part of sports, college athletics. There's a lot of great parts to it, but I love it mostly because of football. So I'm all about spring football, even if it's not as newsy as it used to be.
Oh, it's far less newsy, but at least, we got practices and things and interesting to see. Hopefully people come through healthy, and how are they adjusting to their new teams, and how are they, making it work in the transfer portal era. I'm actually looking forward perversely, and this is not what you just said, Craig, about real football, but I'm curious to see how many people try to do kind of the backdoor transfer after the spring is over, and how much chaos that will cause. There's a ton of personnel people and coaches worried about it, but until it happens, we won't know. If it's just one of those things like Y2K for them, where they're panicked, and then at the end it turns out to be 3 or 4 guys.
Cincinnati, Houston, we just mentioned them, Oklahoma State, and West Virginia started over the weekend. Those all have started in the last couple of 3 days, and there's some that, of course, will start later in the month.
Yeah, so I couldn't remember what I had written down and sent to y'all the other day, but, yeah, those teams are all underway now, so very exciting. Stillwater, I'm sure, is buzzing with just getting the ball rolled out there, getting to see your first eyes on Eric Morris and Drew Mestemaker and Caleb Hawkins and Wyatt Young and all the new faces, and then the old faces that are still going to be expected to be contributors as well. West Virginia, I mean, I don't know what the hell to expect from West Virginia. I really have no earthly idea because of just the amount of turnover on their roster, and they were just sort of all over the place a year ago. So on the one hand, I think Rich Rod's a good coach, and I think it could work. But on the other hand, I don't have a lot of reasons to believe that it's going to work. So I'm just I'll just watch and just see what happens. I don't have a strong opinion of nope, they are going to suck, or nope, they're going to be way better than they were last year. I have no clue on West Virginia, whereas with Oklahoma State, I can definitely say with confidence, they're going to be much better than they were a year ago. And you say, well, anybody could make them better than they were a year ago. I suppose so, but I think they're going to be notably better than they were a year ago. I've already said many times that one of the biggest position upgrades in the entire country this entire offseason was Drew Mestemaker taking over for the situation they had last year. And I don't mean disrespect to those guys, but that was just bad all around. And so you could look at the rest of the guys they brought in, and they should be substantially better offensively than they were a year ago. And I think that's going to turn into a lot more wins for them. But Houston's obviously got really big expectations as well. Who are the other teams you mentioned there? Colorado, was that one of them?
Yeah, Colorado started last week.
Colorado
they started
was last
a week ago on March 2nd.
Cincinnati,
Houston,
Cincinnati's
Oklahoma State.
Interesting. I think post Sorsby, what does that look like? Scott Satterfield, I think, has shown that for stretches they can be pretty good and respectable, and then there's a glut that they hit where it goes off the rails, and you're like, damn, you go from, hey, maybe we've got the guy, to, oh, crap, we still need to fire him sooner rather than later. And I just feel like it's very back and forth on Satterfield and that whole situation. So, yeah, they're another team I'm very just unsure about moving into this season because there's just a lot of question marks. It's a lot of question marks. And they, unlike a Houston or in the case of an Oklahoma State where it's just fresh and bright and new and fun stuff, They don't really have that kind of thing to grasp onto, from my point of view at least. Now, maybe in their inner circles, they're like, dude, our interior D-line's going to be, like maybe I'm just missing that conversation. But, yeah, from the outside looking in, West Virginia, Cincinnati, I think Baylor, like just puzzling programs that you don't quite know what to expect out of them.
There's some that will take a break. Of course, spring break is underway, and then there's a few that will start not next week. There's not many that I think start next week, but there will be in a couple of weeks.
I wonder how many start to either condense it because it is 15. Like it's kind of been spread out over several weeks, but it's 15 practices. How many people do it in like 2.5 weeks now just to kind of get it over with?
I don't think they're trying to get it over with.
No,
I think for us, if we were like, hey, get it over with, but I don't think the coach is like, let's do this as fast as we can to get to the other side of it to where we have no practices. I think, it's probably just a case-by-case basis. But, I mean, at the other side of the coin in the SEC, I mean, to have Alabama, Texas, Oklahoma all starting up this week, I mean, you could just take one of those and talk for a week about them. I mean, those are three programs that have dedicated networks practically to themselves because their fan bases are so large that you could, talk for a couple weeks alone about Oklahoma, much less all of them starting all of this week. So, those are three very just interesting. I mean, I keep going back to that word, but that's what this time of year to me is. It's interesting to see the moves that are being made and see what teams are trying to do and then try to project what that's going to look like. And whether it's Sark and Arch and this grand run they've set themselves up for, where it's no longer, oh, he's too young, oh, he's too inexperienced. It's like, no, now's you put your money where your mouth is, and Arch goes and shows everybody why he's the number one pick in the 2027 draft. Like, that's what the expectation, I believe, is. And then you go and add guys like Cam Coleman to have him throwing to, and the defensive switch to Muschamp. And, I mean, Austin's got plenty to be buzzing about, and then Oklahoma on the other side with the return of Mateer. Like, there's so many question marks there, and improving the offense around him and just keeping that defense at an elite level. I think they're very interesting coming off of that playoff appearance, but the ugly way for that to end. And then Alabama getting to the playoff, they win a game, beat Oklahoma. It's terrific, but then it's, still, it's not Saban. It's like, oh, you want a playoff game? That's cute, but win 3 more of them after that. Like, that's what we want to see. So, those three programs are never short of storylines, but I do think in particular this year there's a lot of good stuff with them.
All right, couple other notes. Max Olson will join us on Thursdays about the tampering story he did and some of the backstories of what goes on. Here is a quote from an agent on college football's tampering rules. I hate to say it, one agent argued, but the rules are a suggestion at this point. And therein, of course, is a problem. Just like when I'm driving down the highway and I see 75, I think that's a suggestion that I should drive somewhere around 75. But that was a quote from an agent, Max Olson's article on ESPN.com.
I actually think that most agents want rules because it makes their jobs easier to do. I think they want rules that obviously favor their side, but the few that I've talked to, I'll say, I mean, I guess they're not going to tell me no, but I think they do genuinely want some rules because it makes their job easier. It keeps bad actors out of their profession, which makes their job harder.
Yeah, no, I do too. No, I agree with you. Here is a list, by the way. Brett McMurphy, Craig sent this out to us yesterday, maybe even this morning. FBS teams favored to win every game on their schedule during the non-conference or conference schedule. These are the 6 teams based on the odds at this particular time. This is a Brett McMurphy deal.
Georgia, Colin Wilson, actually.
Well,
same,
it's a Brett McMurphy tweet with Colin Wilson, the one that with the odds. Georgia, North Dakota State, first year in the FBS, Notre Dame, and Penn State. Immediately think, okay, Penn State's not playing Ohio State and maybe somebody else, or Indiana. Texas Tech and Utah are in this list. They're on this list. They're not scheduled to play during the regular season, and that's why you could have 2 teams in the same conference that are at least projected to run the table at 12-0.
Yeah, this isn't surprising to me at this point, and I'm curious, how things change once we get started and where those go. But, yeah, Penn State doesn't have, especially non-conference, they don't have games like they had the last couple of years. Matt Campbell steps in with a pretty good year to maybe make a nice little run to start out there at Penn State. And, of course, Texas Tech and Utah right now are the most complete teams on paper in the Big 12, and we'll see how that evolves down the line.
All right, there we go. Thanks to that. Thanks for the graphic. By the way, Rez is running the mothership today. Paul, Brandon, of course, Brandon Rowe, who has been with us not really all that long, but Brandon now is running the mothership, but Rez is learning the system and will be running the mothership. Some of what was today and also into the future. Also, Garrett Ross and Andrew Valeda, part of what we do every day on 365 Sports.
I'm going to sing Sarah McLachlan to Brandon tomorrow.
No, you're not going to do that.
No. I mean, I think the people want it, but, you said no, I won't do it.
Now, Brandon Rowe will be leaving us after tomorrow with 365 Sports, and Rez is in and locked in and in the control room right now. By the way, this hour brought to you by QC Kinetics, where you could use your own biologics inside your own body to heal the aches and the pains and the joints that you have at QCkinetics.com.
The reason that their service is outstanding because the people they have working, behind the desk and the folks working out in the garage, taking care of business. And they give you a date, they give you a time, and they're spot on. And they're professional, they take care of it, and they answer all your questions, and they're fun to work with.
Like Alan Samuels always said, Waco has a lot to offer, and so do we at Alan Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat. Come by, let's be friends.
Serving Central Texas since 1889, TFNB Your Bank for Life takes pride in being more than a bank. At TFNB, we remain committed to these principles. If you value them too, come join us. TFNB, Your Bank for Life.
When you play hard, sometimes you fall hard. Sports injuries require special treatment. At Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, our team of expert doctors provides athletes and active adults with comprehensive sports medicine care, diagnostics. Whether you're in high school, college, or beyond, we'll help you get back on the field. Call on the team physicians for Baylor Athletics. Call Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics.
Pepperoni Magnifico. Pepperoni Magnifico. Marco's Pepperoni Magnifico. Classic and crispy cut pepperoni, 3 melty cheeses, all on our fresh made dough. And starting at just $12.99 for a large, it's no wonder Marco's was named America's favorite pizza chain.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at AllianceBankTexas.com. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
It's time for Craig Smoak's Off the Radar.
Welcome back into 365 Sports. Time for a little Off the Radar. And I think we could just spend the entire time in the World Baseball Classic, quite frankly, because this event has taken over my household by storm the last few days or so, and I think that's been the case certainly for Twitter. Not that that's always a great barometer on what is, the coolest thing in the world or the most popular thing in the world at any given time, but it is sometimes a pretty good indicator, and if it is an indicator in this case, then yeah, the whole world is going crazy for the World Baseball Classic right now. Had a game already earlier today that I want to mention. Japan over Czechia, 9-0. Got 3 more games coming up later on today. Israel and the Netherlands, Canada and Puerto Rico, and Italy and the USA that I will get to. But it was last night down in Houston at Daikin Park. The Americans taking on Team Mexico, and it was very much being looked forward to. You knew there was going to be a tremendous turnout, especially in a place like Houston that loves their baseball, also has a big Mexican-American contingent, and so it was a perfect storm for a great atmosphere of baseball, and it was not that interesting of a game, at least early on. Team USA jumps out to a 5-0 lead thanks to a couple of home runs. Aaron Judge getting the scoring led off, and then another dinger right after that from Anthony of the Red Sox, and it's 5-0, and then all of a sudden there at the end, Mexico makes it a little bit interesting. Start to get some runners on base, start to get into some situations where if they had a big knock at the right time, then maybe we're talking about this thing going the other way. Maybe we're talking about at least going to extra innings, but ultimately Team USA does hold on. Paul Skeens was fantastic. He is must-see TV, and the Americans beat the Mexicans 5-3 to remain perfect so far in their pool play. But, yeah, a bunch of games yesterday and a few more games today, including Japan already winning, as I mentioned. But, man, I think Paul Skeens is a guy I would buy a ticket just to watch him. And as much as I was annoyed by the already trying to move him from Pittsburgh, like 2 games into his rookie season, like, oh, he should be in L.A. or Boston or New York, like the typical kind of cowherd national sort of approach to him. The more you watch him, the more you're like, yeah, dude, he can't waste away in Pittsburgh his whole career. Like they got to put something around him, or he's got to get brighter lights in a bigger stage so that his effectiveness can be taken to another level. But in the meantime, Pittsburgh's got arguably the best baseball player not named Ohtani in the world. Certainly the best pitcher on this planet, I believe, right now. Maybe not named Ohtani for some people. But I don't know. How much have y'all taken in the World Baseball Classic? I thought the atmospheres, especially for some of the Latin American countries and like down in Puerto Rico, has been phenomenal, in my opinion, and I've loved every second of it.
I watched the replay of the game this morning. I thought it was fantastic. Bobby Witt was great in the field, insane in the field. I think that the 3 best teams are the USA, Venezuela, and Japan. I think roster for roster. I think the USA has no excuse with their roster to lose this thing. They are absolutely stacked. Also, after watching that game, going to need Roman Anthony and Jarren Duran. Jarren Duran hit 2 home runs from Mexico last night. I'm going to need them to keep this energy. I'm going to need Masataka Yoshida to keep it from Japan. I saw a tweet the other day that they just need to tell him on the Red Sox that this is the World Baseball Classic, because each year, I think the Red Sox kind of signed him based on some of his international play, and he hasn't really been that great for them, but he's been fantastic for Japan so far this week. But, yeah, it's been super, super fun to watch. And, the Japan lineup is really, really good. Some of the guys you're seeing playing are going to be in their first year in the majors this year for Japan, but I think the USA lineup is just so loaded.
How about that game start? Canada, United States over the weekend. Canada scores, and then they make a dramatic play up against the wall and over the fence to rob a home run. United States eventually exploded, but I thought that was very, very cool.
Yeah, there's been a lot of cool moments. I mean, as Paul mentioned, a couple of great defensive plays last night from Bobby Witt Jr. at shortstop, and there's a whole meme that you've probably seen if you've been online today involving Libby Dunn, Paul Skeens' girlfriend, and LSU gymnast. Is she still at LSU? Or
no, I think she's done.
Okay, I think, last year was maybe her last year.
She's living in some condo, isn't she, up in New York City?
She bought Babe Ruth's old apartment, yeah.
Yeah, so she had a meme of like the girl you're actually looking at. I don't know how to properly describe it, but it was based on a tweet that somebody had posted a screenshot of Paul Skeens looking at Bobby Witt Jr. like he was in love after Bobby Witt Jr. had made a couple of those crazy defensive plays, and somebody made the comment along the lines of like, he doesn't even look at Libby Dunn that way, and then a bunch of people were like, yeah, she doesn't turn double plays that way, and so she caught on to that and had fun with it with her own meme involving Skeens and Bobby Witt Jr. But yeah, just a big win by the Americans, quieted the Mexican crowd until again they started to rally a bit there late. The Americans couldn't score. They had 2 home runs. That's all they did the entire game. That was like in the 3rd inning, and that was it. I mean, they didn't put any more runs on the board after that, so maybe that's something that bites them as we get deeper into this thing, but holy mackerel, you look at the Dominican Republic lineup and you look at what's still to come. I think was them in Venezuela. That's going to be just an insane scene down in Miami. And I know that one of the things that kind of came from this over the weekend was Bryce Harper. His comments went a little viral. He was talking about the Olympics, and I think there's kind of some things that, imagine this, on social media and on Twitter of all places, are being a little bit misconstrued because he talked about how the World Baseball Classic is great, but it's not the Olympics. And I think what you need to understand is that while I don't necessarily agree with him, everybody dreams, if you can, of going and winning an Olympic gold medal. Like if there's an Olympic gold medal in sports broadcasting, there'd be a bunch of sports broadcasters trying to win that Olympic gold medal. Doesn't mean you don't also want the World Series. Doesn't mean you also don't want the WBC. But it'd be really cool to have the Olympic gold medal as a part of your accomplishment. So I understand where he's coming from there. I do think you could have kind of taken offense that he sort of downplayed the importance of the WBC a little bit, because I do think it is very much becoming the World Cup versus the Olympics of, hey, soccer player, would you rather win the World Cup or would you rather win the Olympic gold medal? And I think most soccer players would say they'd rather win the World Cup. And I think we're getting really close, if not there already, where if you were to ask like some random Dominican, Cuban, American player of like, what would you rather win? I think the Olympics would still get some votes, but I wouldn't be surprised if a bunch of them were like, I'd rather have the WBC. This is way more fun and crazy. And I think one element that's missing from the Olympics is, yeah, in LA next year, that's also part of Bryce Harper in his commentary, was that he's pushing for baseball in the next Olympics because he's not played on an Olympic team. There's been no baseball. So he's pushing for it to return, and especially return as he's aging and doesn't have many Olympics left, and especially as it's in America, it's in Los Angeles. But I think the thing about the WBC that makes it so much more unique than the Olympics, that the Olympics can never replicate, is the settings. Like, you're just in LA next time. That's it. You're not going anywhere. You're just playing in LA. You might play around LA if you need to have multiple games going on. You're playing at UCLA's field, and you're playing at Dodger Stadium.
Yeah, they're playing at Dodger Stadium.
Right.
So,
okay.
yeah.
So, but if you needed to spread out to venues, you'd still be playing in Los Angeles. Whereas this one, we got the Latin American countries in San Juan, Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
We got Shohei Ohtani in Tokyo, Japan, in the Tokyo Dome with all of those fans. And we've got Taiwan, yes. We've got other Asian countries that can flock to Tokyo much easier than all going and descending on Los Angeles, California. And you've already got some built-in fan bases in those places like Mexico with the Houston setting. But, yeah, they're different. They're both great. I think for Bryce Harper, he needs to start off by winning any kind of a championship that involves a team, given how he's a multi-time MVP guy, but that's kind of eluded him.
And the Nationals won right after they traded him. Like, that's
and then he goes to Philly for a super team, and they come close, but they still haven't won it yet. So, like, if you look at Bryce Harper, no World Series, no WBC, no Olympics. So, I think beggars can't be choosers in some ways, but I'm not like panning him like I saw some of the online discourse. I think the WBC is awesome. I think there's room for it all to be great, but yeah, Bryce Harper definitely lacking in the team accolades department. So just check the WBC first, pal.
And you were right about Bryce Harper. Part of Bryce Harper's like no Olympics thing is the timing. Like, when he came up as an 18-year-old first-round draft pick, there was a time where he would have been a shoo-in for the Olympic team, and then they shoo baseball away from the Olympics. So he was so fast to the majors. So the time where he would have been a minor leaguer and within those rules of being able to play in the Olympics that we had last time, that was kind of a bummer for him. Not kind of, it was a huge bummer because
the only Olympics that baseball was involved, I believe, was Tokyo. That was 2020.
Yeah, and he was also like that during that time. We don't have the rules that they're gonna likely have for 2028, where he'll be allowed to play. Right. You know, like we didn't have the dream team rules in baseball, mostly because it's happening during the season. I do think baseball is going to open that up and allow those guys to play in it because, like, this is our sport. Like, it was the basketball and baseball are sports that we should never not be in the medal round in. We invented them both.
Right. It's like Canada and hockey. Like, you better not ever not be in the
I
podium.
could see baseball being pushed.
I'm just saying in the medal round.
The medal, what do you mean?
Top three
in the medal round. Playing for the bronze medal.
I could see baseball occasionally. It shouldn't, but I could see where some other countries pushed them a little bit.
And part of the reason the other countries, I think, don't want the Americans to go baseball in the Olympics is that, and look, Venezuela, like those countries would, like you said, Smokey, Japan would be fantastic.
Dominican.
But if you look at this roster, which would be the Olympic Dream Team type roster that would come in for 2028, buddy.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that because the Japanese and a few other, if it all fell right. By the way, did you guys see the deal between Rosarena and also
Cal Raleigh?
Cal Raleigh?
Loved it.
Yeah, I mean, for those who didn't see it, Cal Raleigh and Randy Arozarena are teammates on the Mariners, and Arozarena came to the plate and tried to dap up Cal Raleigh, and Cal Raleigh brushed him off, and Arozarena apparently took offense to that because they're buddies and they're teammates, and yeah, you get like, I'm sure Cal Raleigh said something like, we're playing, like we're not doing that right now, and I think that's the competitor. I guess it just depends on your personal prerogative of whether that was offensive or not, and I guess Arozarena's taking it as offense.
Yep.
And so I can understand that because it's like, we're just having fun here, like, dap me up, you're my teammate. I can also understand Cal Raleigh being like, I'm Team USA, you're not, and so let's play ball. So I guess it's in the eye of the beholder, but yeah, that was a little tiff that's emerged from this whole thing.
So, Craig, did you ever watch Ted Lasso?
No.
I believe it's in the 3rd season of Ted Lasso where there's an episode where some of the players go off to play for the international teams, and Danny Rojas who was going to play for Mexico, and then another one of the players were on the same flight going there, and Danny Rojas, who's like the nicest guy on the show, was a very happy guy, happy-go-lucky guy. When they got on the plane, he was like, oh, hey, we're going to play each other on the same flight, and he's like, for the next 2 weeks, we're mortal enemies, and like just absolutely shot daggers through him. So not surprised. That's Cal Raleigh and Arozarena will get that worked out. Arozarena's got a huge personality, so I think he takes those things to heart a little bit more, but they'll get it worked out. I thought it was pretty funny. Of course, I thought about that specific thing that made me go, yeah, he's Ted Lassoing this or Danny Rojasing it.
Yeah, I mean, if they wanted
to and go to hell is what he said.
Who said that?
Rosarena to Raleigh in his Cuban language.
Mexican
language.
Spanish language.
Spanish.
Italy.
Yeah. Well, that's definitely spiking the temperature a little bit unnecessarily. I feel like that's a bit of an extreme reaction, even if you are pissed about it. But they can work that out. And, yeah, that was just a little minor thing from – I guess last night's game that made it viral as well. But, yeah, Team USA wins. And so looking at the WBC moving forward, got Team USA on again tonight, FS1. They'll be taking on Italy down in Houston. Also got coming up at 6, Netherlands, Israel, Puerto Rico, Canada. And then tomorrow, Cuba, Canada, Italy, Mexico. But the big banger, like I'm ready to see this crowd. This is what I was really looking forward to USA and Mexico, and based on the USA jumping out 5-0, like it quieted the crowd in a really big way. I felt like for a large portion of that game until 7th, 8th inning when Mexico got some scoring going, and then you're like, okay, well if a couple things happen here, then maybe this gets really interesting. But tomorrow. You got Canada, Cuba, Italy, Mexico, but Dominican Republic and Venezuela and Miami, Florida. That's going to be absolutely, utterly an insane atmosphere to have those two playing each other, those two fan bases, 7 o'clock on FS1. So I'll be very much looking forward and tapped into Dominican Republic and Venezuela. I'd expect the Dominicans to win that game. They got a nasty, nasty team, but there's a lot of fun teams being put together in this tournament, and you can tell the players love it. I think, again, like having the separate locations to start off the early rounds is so much better than having, like, we're all just in New York. It just makes for the atmospheres to be just so cool, and I think the WBC is just absolutely awesome.
Yeah,
I love it. Like, when it first started out, it was like, okay, like, we'll see how this goes. Kind of a money grab thing maybe, but the tweaking and just the letting it breathe and kind of letting it develop thing, it's turned into a really cool-ass event. Like, I love the WBC.
Yeah, I wish that the NBA could think up a similar thing, instead of the play-in tournament
or whatever. Mid-season tournament for some fake title.
Yeah, exactly. Instead of do this during, they
don't have a.
No, they don't. I mean,
Well, their players would have to care.
Yeah.
They would have to care. No, like that's what's most alarming watching this is look how much these dudes aren't. I'm sure they're getting paid to some degree and they're getting their MLB money because they're in spring training technically or whatever. But like yes, money's involved. But that's not what it's about. Like, if you watch the Dominicans,
it's the same as the hockey,
right? It's exactly. It's like and I do think hockey made this more patriotic for guys like Paul Skeens, who, yes, you can go into, like, he was in the Air Force briefly, and then he left to pursue baseball and everything. So I think there was some patriotism already, but I definitely think the hockey rubbed off on the American side, at least, and made that even more of a big deal to follow that up with baseball now taking its turn. Whereas with basketball, like, I've seen years where, Curry cares and LeBron cares, and they want to represent Team USA, but then watch their regular season, and there's a lot of not caring, and I don't know how you're going to convince those guys outside of saying, all right, we'll give you another $100 million to play this game that you play and already make $100 million off of. I just think that's going to be too difficult for them to do.
Like the Ryder Cup, the United States Ryder Cup.
I worry about Team USA in the post-LeBron, Steph, like those guys that had that Kobe camp, the Redeem Team camp, that don't have that, that didn't have that kind of example, and we might have that happen again. I mean, obviously we have some of the best players in the world, but, man, France was right on our heels. I mean, that game came down to Steph Curry in the Olympics. So, again, they've got to care, and I don't know how much the American players care as much.
I think they care about the Olympics. I don't think you could make them care about a tournament you just made up. Like, because you're already doing everything you can to try to just make them care about something. Like, no, let's change the All-Star game format again. Let's make it U.S. versus international to try and make you care. And I don't think there's really anything you could do outside of the Olympics to make basketball care, but you also don't really need to, because basketball in the Olympics does feel like the top level, whereas I think the WBC, like the World Cup's kind of going like, we're different, but just as cool. And for some guys, you might actually want our championship more than you want the other. I don't think we're quite there with baseball, but I think we're not far away from it based on just what you see happening in the WBC.
How much do the fans' involvement make it even bigger than it is?
It's the whole thing, honestly. I mean,
exactly
it's two things.
It's not sterile.
It's the star power for sure. If you just put random Dominican Republic team together, like old Team USA Olympic teams, where it's like, this guy's a prospect in the Dodgers, it's like, I don't care. Like, unless he's the next Bryce Harper, I don't care, right? Like, you do need stars, and I think Americans need stars. In the Olympics, it's one thing because there isn't an NFL of swimming. So, like, they just are swimming. But in the pro sports, like, they're already on these pro sports teams. We don't want to see anybody but the pro sports stars because they're the best. Like, and Team America not using Bryce Harper or Paul Skeens or these guys, that's not Team USA at its full potential. So the fact that you've got Shohei Ohtani doing everything he can in this tournament, and Paul Skeens, and you see the Latin American teams that are just, like, as excited as anybody, and their atmospheres, that's 90% of what makes it what it is having the star power, but also the enthusiasm from those star players. And I think that having it in Puerto Rico for the Cubans, the Dominicans, the Puerto Ricans, to play in front of a home crowd, or to play in front of at least some of their countrymen, or some definite familiarity, especially in the Caribbean, that goes a long way, as opposed to some sterile, like, we're in Toronto, let's play ball, kind of a thing. So there you go with that. And then one other note, we're running late, but P.J. Locke signs with the Dallas Cowboys. Just a small free agency note that I don't know if Paul cares about it or not, but I thought
he's a backup safety. They signed a backup defensive tackle today too. They traded a fourth-round pick for a guy who's about to get cut in Rashawn Gary. Uneven. I'm giving it an incomplete on free agency so far.
They're going to spend $35 million a year to re-sign George Pickens at some point.
Yeah.
They're going to have to pay 2 first-round picks, 12 and 20, whatever it might be, if they move up and down. There's a bunch of money there. So they are doing a lot. I like the safety they got from Arizona?
Yeah, Jalen Thompson.
I like him. They needed that desperately in the second.
But we can ask our guest, is John available? Is John on?
Yeah.
No?
You have
Okay.
Wrap it up?
No, that's it.
No.
By the way, the Paul Gasol, Kobe Bryant 2008 Olympics confrontation, when Kobe went right through him, remember that?
Yeah, Kobe cared. I mean, those guys care about the Olympics. I just don't think you're going to make them care about a basketball WBC.
Yeah.
So John McClain joins us now, and we can talk NFL free agency with him. John, first off, who do you think has done the best in free agency so far and been the smartest about it?
First of all, I've been on listening to you guys talk about the WBC. And if y'all talked about the pitcher from Chechnya.
The dude who got his baseball card?
No, the dude who is a full-time electrician.
Yeah, that's him. Yeah.
And he's the one that he got a standing ovation by the Japanese fans today, and he just looked like he was in another world. 4 2/3 inning, a shutout baseball, and the ovation that the Japanese fans gave for him was just unbelievable. What a great moment. It reminded me of a great Olympic story. And in answer to your question, Paul, about I would say the Raiders, they have most money to spend. If you're going to overspend for a player like they did on Tyler Linderbaum and totally reset the market from the previous high center, do it when you got the money and when you get the first overall pick coming in at quarterback. That was a great signing. And they gave him such a short-term contract. He'll be, I believe, 28 when this one is up. But he'll be great for Fernando Mendoza. And they've done a terrific job on both sides of the ball. But there's no reason they shouldn't if you know what you're doing and you got a lot of money to do it.
John, he's a center. That's going to, unless I'm wrong, the center position is not going to get paid as much as an interior offensive lineman on either side of it, or a tackle. How much did he just reset the center as far as salary situation?
Consider his average per year went up from, let's see, $9 million a year from what it had been. I'll guarantee you every general manager in the league frowned on that deal. And his agent, whoever it was, did a tremendous job, must have convinced the Raiders that there were others trying to get him, and there were. But they weren't going to give him $27 million a year and a 3-year contract. But they got him. That's all that matters. And when you have a new quarterback coming in with a team like the Raiders, you need a center you can trust, because after all, you got your hands on his butt most of your career, and you got to have somebody you get along with.
John, I guess one of the biggest stories is involving Travis Kelce and his decision to return for another season. And I get that he's getting older. I guess we're going to have to play this song and dance again for like the second or third year in a row now of like, is this the end? Is this the end? Is this the end? It's not the end. Eventually it will be. But Travis Kelce coming back to Kansas City, your thoughts on that?
Well, I don't know anybody didn't think he was coming back.
Right.
Yeah. And, Kelce didn't want the season to end the way it did last year. His money's not an issue. They got him 1 year for $15 million. He and his brother sold their podcast for over $100 million. His fiance's got a little money in the bank as well. And I'm sure he didn't want to go out the way they did, losing at the end of the year, losing Patrick Mahomes, and he'd like to bounce back. And he loves the game. More power to him. I think the NFL is more interesting when you have Travis Kelce. And I think it'll be really interesting when he retires, because he's going to do something football related, just like his brother.
John, the big, I think, disappointment, for maybe a fan base is Mike Evans, who is the most popular player in the history of the Bucs since Leroy Selman, and they named a dang highway after him in Tampa. He's going to the 49ers. What do you think it came down to? Because the Bucs reportedly offered him more guaranteed money. Was it just he wanted a change of scenery and thinks the Niners are closer to a Super Bowl at the end of his career?
I don't buy that at all, Paul. It always comes down to money. Think about this. You want to go from Tampa, where you've got a great home in a great area, probably on the water, and you want to go to Santa Clara, California, or one of those cities. Nobody lives in San Francisco who plays for the 49ers, because the stadiums and the practice facility are 45 miles away. And you want to pay all those taxes you're going to pay out there. You got to pay state and local that are the highest in the country. I'm guessing that the Bucs did not offer him as much as being leaked that they did. And boy, the 49ers are old. They may be the oldest team in the NFL. They keep grabbing, for that pot at the end of the rainbow one more time. Great for Evans, good guy, Hall of Fame receiver, first ballot 5 years after his career ends. But I don't buy for a second it came down to anything but money. He plays in the toughest division in the NFL. The Buccaneers play in the worst division in the NFL.
John, who right now would you say, I know there's a bunch, but are there a couple of names that are on the market that you feel like you're surprised they've gotten into day 2 of the free agent market?
Well, we thought of one of the quarterbacks, Tua Tagovailoa is going to Atlanta. I thought Kyler Murray already would have signed. He only cost the team $1.3 million to get him. And I'm kind of waiting on Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins, who's made like second or third most money in NFL history. Money shouldn't be an object for him. There's talk about him may go to Arizona. If I am Minnesota, I'm trying to bring him back. I'd rather have him than Kyler Murray, even though he's 8 years older. And so I'm kind of surprised we've had only one of the named quarterbacks land so far. And it'll be only a matter of time before they get a team to sign with.
John, this isn't as much of a question, I guess, as it's just something I came across yesterday. But how about Tyquan Thornton signing a 2-year deal with the Chiefs, $11 million, and just kind of knowing a little bit about Tyquan's background and just how it took him a little while to kind of find his place in the NFL. I think that's a great story and certainly life-changing for him, I would think.
Well, that's a good point, Greg, because, he was surprisingly a second-round pick in New England. It did not work out. And I think it's great that he's back with Patrick Mahomes. A lot of people are wondering when Mahomes would come back. And I saw a report last week, and I can't remember who it was from, but it was legitimate, saying he's expecting to be ready for the first game. And they always need receivers. And the truth is, if you're a receiver in the Chiefs and you can stay out of trouble with the law, you've got a chance to have a good season playing with Mahomes.
Or a football player at Georgia, if you and not get behind the wheel of a car.
Have the Texans done well so far, in your opinion?
One of the things they did last week, Paul, was Nick Caserio extended contracts, redid contracts to free up money under the salary cap, so they had some room to maneuver. They got a right tackle today, Braden Smith from the Colts, played 1,021 snaps last year, didn't give up a snap. They've gone against him twice a year for his entire career, so they know him very, very well. And they got safety Reed Blankenship from the Eagles. He's been a 3-year starter in his 4 seasons, won a Super Bowl ring last year. He and Cooper DeJean were really gruesome twosome at safety. So they got him to fill their only need on defense. Some people think they need a defensive tackle. No, they may take one, but it's not a need. Their needs are in the offensive line. And they re-signed right guard Ed Ingram. Nick Caserio actually made a good move on that one because he's had trouble getting offensive linemen in here. And he got rid of Titus Howard to Cleveland for a 5th-round pick, former number 1, before he got here. Juice Scruggs, he blew him as a 2nd-round pick. He was a huge waste. And he was traded to Detroit. But Ingram came in here after 4 mediocre years in Minnesota as a 2nd-round pick, played very, very well. And they extended him. But getting Braden Smith, who's a piece in the reworked offensive line, where they're going to have at least 3, maybe 4 new starters if they get a center. And they had 3 picks in the 1st round, including theirs at 28. They have Washington's number 6 in the 2nd round, and then they have their own 2nd round. Wouldn't surprise me if he doesn't trade out of the 1st round again to pick up extra picks as they continue to rebuild the offensive line, which was the worst area on the team.
Well, the defense for the Cowboys was the worst area on the team. They signed the safety from Arizona. They've made a couple of other moves. They did trade for Rashawn Gary, but based on listening to a couple of comments from Packers beat reporters, he might be like out of gas as far as not much left in the tank. Your thoughts about that pickup?
Well, I'll say this about Rashawn Gary. Green Bay's lost a lot of players. And if they had wanted to keep him, they could have. Cowboy fans, I think they should get ready. Anything they get will be gravy. They've got to hit on those 2 first-round picks. They got to be defensive players. One has got to be an edge rusher. The other's got to be a corner. You don't like to be pigeonholed like that to have to take a player, but that's what they've left themselves is to fill those 2 needs. And Gary, if he gets 6 or 7 sacks, that's great. He was a former tremendous prospect who has never been as good as advertised when he came out of college.
John McClain, Hall of Fame columnist, with us on 365 Sports. Paul, anything else? Craig? All right. Thank you, John. We appreciate you, my friend. And your Baylor Bears are done, by the way, for the year. Well, they might get an NIT berth. We lose him? He's gone. Okay. When we come back, Paul, Catalina, the top 5. We'll have quizzes, the poll results, and the wheel. Not in all that particular order. This is 365 Sports.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5.
Welcome into Paul Catalina's Top 5, brought to you by Flag and Anthem. Go to flagandanthem.com. Use our promo code 365 Sports. Yesterday we did Big 12 storylines. Today we're doing Big 10 March storylines. So, number 5. Can Purdue stop fading? Their offense, defense, everything's been bad the last couple of weeks. Remember, this was a team that was as high as 4th in the country just a couple of weeks ago, and since then, they've hit a wall. So did they hit the regular season wall that happens in tough conferences like the Big Ten and need to play other teams that don't know them so well? Or is this the sign of a permanent fade from Purdue and they're looking at another early exit from the tournament? Really good team when they're hitting on all cylinders, but they are not hitting on all of them right now. So can Matt Painter stop that slide as they get into March Madness right now? Number 4. Is Michigan State legit? They are climbing up. And this has been a tough league. We're talking about Illinois, Nebraska, and Michigan all in this segment. But I want to focus on the Fighting Izzos right now. Sparty. They have played so well down the stretch. And it is Tom Izzo. And it is the NCAA tournament. And there are not many better coaches than him when it comes to that time of the year. So I think Michigan State might have put themselves in the legit title contender category. There are maybe more teams this year than in most years that could, if they get hot, win 6 games in a row and just go and do this at March Madness. So I think Michigan State has become one of those teams, and I think because of Tom Izzo's coaching, they are looking, right now, they're a 2 seed, which is going to give them a great draw. We'll see what the matchups are, but I think Michigan State is, in fact, legit. Quietly kind of among the top 10, considering like all the noise around the Big 12 teams and Duke and Michigan, their rival, and all of that. But I think that Michigan State is absolutely a title contender. Number 3. How good is Nebraska? One of the best regular seasons in the history, if not the best regular season in the history of Nebraska basketball, which is not great. They don't have a huge basketball tournament resume. In fact, it's pretty weak. Can they get a win in the tournament this year? Fred Hoiberg's coached them up really well. They're very fundamentally sound. They're maybe not super athletic compared to some of the other teams in the Big 12, but they've got guys who can score. They've got guys who can rebound. They've got guys who can play defense. All of those things. I said Big 12. I mean Big 10. But Fred Hoiberg, another really good coach and a coach who's had success in March in the past. I look for Nebraska to maybe make a little noise in the tournament, although I do not think that they are a title contender, but a nice salvo across the college basketball world for Fred Hoiberg right now. Number 2, can Illinois be more consistent? And when I say more consistent, they've been one of the more consistent teams in the country earlier in the year. Lately, they've kind of done this win 2, lose 2 thing. And when they play some of the tougher teams, they've looked a little bit overmatched at times. But Brad Underwood can get them right. This is a team also that's had some success in March and a coach that's had some success in March at a couple of different places. I think that Illinois can be they're right on the cusp of me saying that they can win this thing. They are in that group like Michigan State, like Kansas, like Arizona, like Houston, like Iowa State, where, this is one of those 12 teams I think that can win the whole thing if everything goes right. But lately it's just been maybe struggling a little bit against the equally matched teams or the teams that might be just a shade above them in the Big Ten. And number 1, can Michigan keep it up? This is Yaxel Lendeborg, and if you don't know who that is, you have not watched college basketball this year. One of the best transfer players in the country there at Michigan with Dusty May. He has done an absolutely fantastic job, Dusty May, in bringing in guys like Yaxel Lendeborg, who would have maybe been a first-round draft pick at the end of last season. but decided to come back to Michigan and has shoved himself way up the list for the NBA draft. Michigan, all around fantastic team. Every single aspect of the game. They are absolutely going to be a 1 seed, and they are absolutely going to be a team to be reckoned with. But historically, Michigan, and you cannot run from history, has been a team that kind of gets right up to the line and falls short when it comes to winning the NBA or the NCAA title. That is why I had the question, can they keep it up, or does history come and get them? There are going to be some really good 1 seeds. Duke's going to be a 1 seed. Arizona's going to be a 1 seed. Michigan's going to be a 1 seed. And right now, to me, it's a toss-up between Houston and Florida for that 4th one. We'll see how that shakes out. But when it comes down to it, can they match up with those 1 and 2 seeds and not blow a tire? Because the ghosts of history always follow you. That's going to do it for us. We're spinning the wheel right now. Okay, is there a game moment that solidified your fandom for a team or player like Mendoza's dive or Brady's Super Bowl comeback?
I mean, I didn't really need solidification of my fandom already.
Yeah.
But I just fun moments, I guess. Yeah. I mean, like, there's nothing that made me more of a fan than I was of the teams I've always rooted for. But Corey Seager's home run to tie things up, and what was that, the World Series game? I'm forgetting the details now about it here on the spot. But, yeah, like that was crazy. I mean, Tommy Frazier's run against Florida, the spinning out of multiple tacklers and running for a touchdown just to further embarrass the Gators, like that's another play. So, like, yeah, there's maybe a different question that I'm answering there as far as the biggest plays that stand out to me, but that's what jumps out, yeah.
You know, I'll answer this, and I'll dedicate this question to my college roommates, Rusty and Stacy. My favorite actual player on the 99 FSU National Championship team was the backup running back, Jeff Chaney. I felt they didn't use him enough, and he was kind of a do-it-all guy. He was not an NFL guy, but he was one of those really good college football players that his effort was just maximum effort. And what solidified, and of course, like what made me love Florida State, and like I'll never be as mad at them as I probably should be because of that moment, was when he blocked the punt in the national championship game against Virginia Tech.
Who was known for being the team that blocked
So, like,
punts.
when you give Beamer a ball, a dose of its own medicine, and that was, there were 2 moments in that game that Frank Beamer, took a big glug of Pepto-Bismol, and it was that one, and of course Peter Warrick's touchdown, which won it for FSU. But I would say, if I'm going to pick a one moment, that's my Florida State moment that I always think about, going like, see, I told everybody he's the glue guy here. I told you, So I think maybe that one a little bit, but there are a lot, like, Dave Roberts stealing second base against the Yankees, romanticized the Red Sox even more for me in that comeback in Game 4.
I'm trying to think of somebody that's not obviously one of my favorite players on my favorite team, like the Frazier or whatever. I would say Joe Carter's home run to win the World Series for Toronto back in the day. Remember that?
I remember that. I'm trying to remember what the question. I think the question was about securing your fandom.
Your favorite team.
Okay, well, then Tommy Frazier, John Riggins in the Super Bowl to beat Miami when we had him on at the Super Bowl too. That was pretty cool. Those are the two. Those are you cannot outdo the Tommy Frazier run, no matter what the score was at the time.
You were much cooler around John Riggins than you were around Joe Gibbs.
Yeah, Joe Gibbs was just, there's something about him. I mean, just
absolutely.
John Riggins was great though. He was as cool with us as anyone was at Super Bowl Media Row in San Francisco. All right, here we go.
On March 10th, 2011, Kemba Walker hit a legendary buzzer beater step back. Which team fell victim to cardiac Kemba in the Big East quarterfinal at MSG? Oh, God. I'm remembering the shot, and I just see faceless, white jerseyed people in my brain for the other team. I want to say it was Georgetown, but I don't know.
I don't know if they've been that good in a long time.
This is 2011.
I know, but that's
this is
14 years.
Also in the quarterfinals.
Yeah.
So it's earlier in the tournament.
Well, if we're going by quarterfinals, and it's probably Pitt, because I'd say if I'm ranking basketball programs, with all due respect to them, although Georgetown's very much riding off of like the fumes of yesteryear at this point, like whereas St. John's is still pretty damn relevant with Pitino and Villanova's Villanova. So I know Pitt's been good. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say like there's some why are they in here kind of thing, but of the 4 basketball programs, like they're the least basketball program. So
I'm going to say Pitt because they are the least basketball program.
Yeah, so like second round is what I'm. You know. What I mean?
Yeah.
So that's like let's go with Pitt. I mean, I can see them. All. There we go.
Bangarang, baby.
Yeah.
There we go.
So
Bangarang.
74-74. Kimball Walker isolated against Pitt forward Gary McGee at the top of the key. His sharp crossover sent McGee to the floor, creating the space for a legendary buzzer beater. That win propelled UConn to 5 wins in 5 days for the Big East title and the eventual 2011 national championship, which was played at AT&T Stadium.
And Jamie Dixon at TCU was the head coach at Pitt.
Yeah, and I was there for both for both days of that Final Four. It was really fun. This country is the
more Final Fours. How many Final Fours have they had in AT&T? More than they've had Super Bowls?
No, same.
Just one. Oh, that's definitely why he built that building for one of each thing.
But they've had like 10 Jonas Brothers concerts, Craig. So
yeah, they've had at least one WrestleMania as well.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Okay, this country is the most successful in World Baseball Classic history with 3 titles and currently undefeated in 2026 pool play. USA, Puerto Rico, Japan, or the DR?
I believe I'm going to say Japan.
Yeah, I think it's Japan. Yeah.
I mean, the U.S., I believe, only has the one title.
Yeah, which was the last one, right?
Well, each
Puerto Rico doesn't have a title that I'm aware of.
And I don't think they're undefeated right now.
Yeah, nor are they undefeated. Yeah, I don't have. I'm not so into it that I have it all memorized, like what everybody is right now. I'm more or less just taking it in. So yeah, I don't want to say definitively that they are or not undefeated, but
I'm going to say Japan too.
Yeah, I think it's Japan. I'm just guessing.
Where's Iceland on that?
There we go. Known as Samurai Japan, his team is the gold standard for the WBC, or this team, I'm sorry. They won the inaugural 2006 and 2009 titles, reclaimed the throne in 2023 behind Shohei Ohtani, and just finished a perfect 4-0 sweep of Pool C in Tokyo today. They're the only nation with 3 titles and have never finished lower than the semifinals.
Yeah, I mean they're really, really good at baseball, and they've got the best baseball player maybe that we've ever seen. Although there's a bunch of great ones in this tournament, and yeah, they've had a great crowd there. Like the moment John brought up earlier with the Chechen electrician, I hadn't seen that until he mentioned that. Apparently, that guy also struck out Shohei during his stint. So I'm gonna have to go back on YouTube and watch some of those clips because that sounds like it was awesome. And there's no more respectful of a crowd than the Japanese crowd. So they love their baseball and they love their respect, and I bet they really. I bet that was really cool, so I can't wait to watch that later.
I still remember the days I watched Japanese baseball when I lived in Japan. Did not understand a word they were saying, but knew and started to get to know the teams and the players. That was a great memory.
Yeah, Sadahara O is the simultaneously like the Babe Ruth and the
he was winding it down when I got there.
And the Casey Stengel or like Connie Mack of Japanese baseball, the best player and the best manager in history. Although, he played his whole career in that league. He would have been in the majors if he had played today. They weren't doing that back when he was playing.
They did not.
Yeah,
no.
he had gotten $50 million to walk, to get on a plane to come over here. Will the Raiders' draft picks and spending spree be enough to spark a playoff run in first? 51% no same old Raiders. 39% think wild card at best, and 10% say yes, they're contenders.
I think that we've seen this before, and it amounted to absolutely nothing. So I'm inclined to say same old Raiders, but I'll actually be somewhat nice and just say wild card at best. I do think Brady and them have a good head on their shoulders, and obviously Pete Carroll was an awful choice for a head coach, but I didn't think so at the time. I thought, okay, yeah, he's a little older, but it's Pete Carroll. Like he still knows what he's doing, I would suspect, and it turns out I was totally wrong on that. So I think they've got a good young coach in there now. They're going to have a quarterback. I think they'll be drastically better, but I'm not going to start putting them in the contender category just yet. So I'll say, wild card.
It appears they have a plan for the first time in a while.
Yeah. Right.
But let's see how that works out.
Yeah, wild card is absolutely the ceiling of any of the picks. I said wild card at best only because maybe they go 8-9 or 9-8 and they get themselves in the playoffs.
And I do respect the Raiders. I mean, they've got passionate fans, but it's kind of like the Cowboys fans at this point. It's just like, we have to keep hearing about you because you are so popular, but like you don't really deserve it, honestly, sometimes. But they're deserving the shine for all the moves that they've made. It's just that once you've seen it, it's like a great recruiting class. Like, sometimes they work out great, and then other times you're just promoting them the same every year, and there's sometimes they don't work out. So we'll see, because the Raiders had a great free agent class not that long ago that they were getting a lot of attention for, and it changed absolutely nothing for them. I think this will be different, though.
Yeah. Chiefs, Broncos, Chargers in that division, too, is really tough.
Yeah, that's tough.
At least we think so now. Smokey cannot answer this question, because I promise you he's not seen any of this.
I tried and answer every one of them, but King Jiu-Jitsu's gotten a little bit wobbly with some of these at the end that did not answer this. I don't even know any of those.
Yeah, I think he falsely assumed that you'd be at least moderately familiar with it.
Nope, not at all.
No.
Not at all.
Journey Through Middle-earth, which is Lord of the Rings, Smokey, is your favorite? Winning Out is Return of the King, which is my favorite. I thought it was the best wrap-up to a trilogy maybe ever. The Two Towers just behind the Fellowship of the Ring, and the Hobbit trilogy at 6%. So 91 votes. A lot of Lord of the Rings fans. Craig, do you have an opinion on this one?
Yeah.
What is the Hobbit trilogy?
That's the Hobbit movies that they did.
No,
yeah,
absolutely. I loved Lord of the Rings growing up, and when I discovered I would have been actually it was the Hobbit first. I loved the Hobbit. Like, that book was just like, whoa. I just stumbled into something I didn't know that I needed, but I'm glad that I know that it's here now. And I read all the books, and I saw all the original movies. I tried to watch some of that newer Hobbits. I could not. The graphics were terrible.
Well,
he
shot it in like this higher frame rate.
Oh, it sucked,
so it made it look like it was shot on a set.
It looked cartoony as hell.
Yeah.
Like, it just looked goofy, and I could never get into it. So yeah, definitely not the Hobbit trilogy. I'd say Return of the King. I mean, that's the finale and the biggest moments and everything. So yeah, I'd say Return of the King.
Is that the one? No, which is the one where the girl had the blonde hair?
Yeah, and the
well,
thing.
There is a blonde-haired girl. Kate Blanchett's in it.
You know, the thing in the place with the guy.
The lady that flew on the dragon.
No, that's Game of Thrones.
All right, see.
Game of Thrones is Lord of the Rings with boobs.
Oh.
Yeah. a lot of cuss words.
Yeah.
By the way,
all the heroes die.
I want Rez to now start to give Andrew some questions that he and I, at our age, could maybe get correct.
I've talked to Rez a little bit more today. We had a little time together. I actually think he probably has an opinion on this one too, just based on. Or no, he doesn't. Okay, well,
all right.
We'll see.
Thank you very much, Rez. Great job the first day. You were here yesterday, but today running the mothership. Brandon Rowe, is it tomorrow? Is it his swan song?
Yep.
We'll do something about that. And then also Andrew Valet, Garrett Ross, a major part of everything we do every single day. Appreciate you, the audience, and viewership, and of course our sponsors.
Yeah, and I hated that I just stumbled upon it. Game 1 was the Corey Seager home run of the World Series. I had that in my mind. I was like just doubting myself for a second. So just as a Rangers fan, I had to come back and close that out of, yes, that Game 1 memory. That's just like, it's never been better to be a Rangers fan other than a few games later when they actually won that first World Series title. But yeah, I just wanted to
That was the
put
loudest
the button on that.
You hear about. That's the loudest I've ever. That explosion in that Game 1 home run was insane. All right, thank you very much. We appreciate your time. Tomorrow, again, loaded up Matt Brown on many things college athletics, and then Joey McGuire. Thursday, Colin Klein, Kansas State football coach and former Kansas State great, will join us. Thank you to Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak. I'm David Smoak. This is 365 Sports. Have a great night.